bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? This is Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today is Wednesday, January 6th, a very wet and rainy day here in Burbank, California. 6 days into the new year, 359 days left. We are live from downtown Burbank, California. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, KGRA, and TalkNetwork.com. I'm your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Burbank is floating. We've had 3 straight days of rain, flooding, freeways closed right here next to the studio. And posted some pictures of Nessie. Nessie was spotted in downtown Burbank. You can go check those out on Twitter right now. I don't think they're CGI. I think they're real. At J Church Radio. Posted it on Facebook earlier. I just had to do it. Nessie in downtown Burbank. All right. Let's go. We got a great show tonight. Great show tonight. Very special guest and back. 400 shows ago, we had Robert Sullivan IV on. Great show. He's back. I can't believe it's been that long, but it has. And tonight, we're going to discuss Cinema Symbolism right here in Hollyweird. And I'll discuss a little bit more about this in just a bit. The call-in number tonight is 323-825-5045. We'll try to get to some phone calls a little bit later. You can also Skype in Fade to Black and the number 14. Tomorrow night is open lines. It is Fader night. So for all of the new listeners that are here at TalkNetwork.com, Thursday night is call-in night. It's your night. We blast through back-to-back calls in 3 hours. We probably do 50, 60 phone calls. And we get as many in as possible. But it is always a great, fun, thrilling night. And it's all about you, the listener. That's what it is. And it's an open lines night. So that we'll be doing that tomorrow night, Fader night, every Thursday night. That's what we do right here. And again, this week on Coast to Coast AM on Friday, my guest will be Sean Stone, and son of Oliver Stone, great conspiracy guy, great show too, Buzzsaw. He will be my guest Friday night on Coast, and then Saturday night on Coast, my guest will be William Henry. All right, I've got a surprise guest that will be on before William, and we're going to make that announcement tomorrow. All right, let's go. Let's get the show cracking. And I announce at the beginning of every show, look, this show is sponsored by our advertisers. That's what we do, okay? Life Change Tea. Change yourself. I feel great. Do something for yourself, and then you're going to help the show, too, and help Life Change Tea. Just go to getthetea.com, jimmychurchradio.com. The banners are right there. Go and do it. Life Change Tea. It is the absolute best. Everything that they do everything. Studio Dome is still got their surround sound special for everybody. Wireless Bluetooth system, subwoofer, 2 satellite speakers. Go and just click. That's all you got to do. The banners are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. We have 3, yes, count them, 3. We have 3, and phone lines are lit up. What do you guys do? Did I say phone lines are open? Did I do that? Click, 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 click. Unbelievable. No. I'll open up the phone lines a little bit later. I promise. Tonight we'll take some calls, okay? Alien Snowfest is coming up. I can't believe it. Today is the 6th of January. Alien Snowfest now is less than a month away in Big Bear, California. Go get your tickets now. Yes, that is with George Norrie, Jason Martell, Linda Moulton Howe, Stanton Friedman, Micah Hanks, Mike Baer, Chase Klutsky, Craig Campabasso is going to be showing his film, Stranger at the Pentagon, Marshall Klarfeld, and Richard Dolan, and myself. We're all going to be there. Go and get your full passes right now at Alien Snowfest. The banners are over on the website. And then right after that, back-to-back, is the 14th Annual Conscious Life Expo right here in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. The banners are also over at jimmychurchradio.com. And special discount packages are available there, too, as well. That is also, it's one of the biggest conventions of its type. And then coming up in the very beginning of August is Contact in the Desert. Quickly, it has become probably the premier event for ufology in the country. It's huge. Thousands of attendees. It's right here. It's in Joshua Tree, California. Great facility. And that is a full weekend, too. And you can go to contactinthedesert.com. And there, I think we have banners up. If we don't, we'll have them up by tomorrow, if they're not up now. And so there you go. So back to back to back to back. It's going to be a very, very busy 2016 for Fade to Black. All of you Fadernauts, and we've got some other stuff going on, too, as well. We're going to make announcements I'm going to guesstimate here and say over the next 3 weeks, some big news, okay? And we'll get to that. You're going to trip. You're really going to trip. And I'm really, really excited. I wish I could say something. I just can't. I'm itching to, but I just can't. And there you go. Use your imagination. It's good stuff. All right, with that, let's get this show cracking. Tonight we are going to discuss Hollywood with a little Freemasons thrown in, and for good measure, and there's reasons for that. But we're going to discuss symbolism in cinema. What is it that you are seeing? And it's going to be excellent. I'll talk about that in just a second. Let's get this show cracking. Today, Malcolm Young of AC/DC is 63. And our dead guy's birthday today is, moment of silence, please, Syd Barrett. 1946 to 2006. Died at the age of 60. Died alone. Shine on, you crazy diamond. That is all. That's all I'm going to say about Syd Barrett. And if you ever get the chance to see the documentary about Pink Floyd and the making of specifically that song, Shine On, You Crazy Diamond, you could watch that documentary. It will change your view of Syd Barrett forever. Syd Barrett, happy birthday. And one of the things about this show, and for the new listeners that are here, that have never been here before, this show is a little bit different. Yeah, we do our favorite subjects, conspiracies, ufology, ghosts, all things fringe, lost civilizations, Egypt, all of those great subjects. You know, that's what we do here, right? But I come from another world. I come from the music industry. I live here in Hollywood, and Burbank, same thing. And so with that, what I had always done, you know, since I was a kid, studied ufology and conspiracy and all that crazy stuff that my mom was into, and I was always into that and studied it, had all the books, had all the videos, and read and sponged up. But I was a guitar player, and I was a producer, and I was a musician, and that's how I paid the bills here in Hollywood. Great career, had a great time. But what I always wanted to do was this, what I'm doing right now. You know, conspiracies, the New World Order, UFOs, and do this. So this show kind of mixes everything up because I'm here in Hollywood. So you are able to come here and you get your little taste of music. You know, you get your film stuff and all the entertainment things that I love. We're here in the middle of the entertainment capital of the world, right here. We're right here in Burbank. And then we get to throw and mix up and come up with this menagerie of things that are fun. That's what the show is about. And that's why I just said happy birthday to Sid friggin' Barrett. Shine on, you crazy diamond. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. You know, and before I move on, see, you guys are good in Twitter. I just can't believe musicians and aliens. It mixes, man. It does. It does. It does. And Pink Floyd, I missed the early Pink Floyd. I got into Pink Floyd when The Wall came out. When The Wall came out, that kind of changed things. I thought, how can a band make an album this good? You know, because it was like perfect. Even though I wasn't into that type of the music at that time, The Wall freaked me out. And that's what opened up my eyes to Pink Floyd. And so I kind of missed the boat. The Wish You Were Here and Dark Side of the Moon, and that was the older Floyd. Now I appreciate it. Now I get it. But back then, no. And so it was always like The Wall for me. And that really, it was part of Pink Floyd. And Pink Floyd, Pink in The Wall is Sid Barrett. Okay? And the whole shaving of the eyebrows and going crazy and shaving the head, that's what Sid Barrett did. And that was in The Wall. So there you go. All right. I digress. Sid Barrett. Happy birthday. All right. You can email throughout the show, Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Simple enough. Just make it good, and it'll get past the producers. I know I say that on every show, but I don't see all of the email that comes in. I just see the good stuff. So make it good, and it'll get in here to me. Tonight, we have a very special guest, Robert Sullivan IV. He's here. We're going to be discussing cinema symbolism right here in Hollywood. Call in number 323-825-5045. We will get to calls in the third segment of the show, I promise. On this day in history in 1975, 2,000 Led Zeppelin fans waiting to buy tickets end up trashing the Boston Garden. True story. That actually happened, 1975. Fader fact, 13 of the 20 most polluted cities in the world are in India. You thought it was United States, didn't you? You thought it was China. India. 13 of the 20 most polluted cities in the world. Unbelievable. As everyone knows and who listens to this show, you know that we broadcast from Burbank, California. And Burbank is the very heart of the movie and television industry. Every major and minor production company is here. Everything happens here. It's all around us. The last numbers that I remember were something like 75% of the residents in Burbank and the Valley work in the industry. It's staggering. It's everywhere here. Everywhere you turn. You have Hollywood, you have Los Angeles, you have Culver City and Santa Monica. This area, you have ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Disney, Universal, Warner Brothers, Sony. They're all here. You have all the production companies that support them. You have the costume, the staging industry. It's all here. Lighting, sound, production. It's all here. And then the companies that support that sell all of the equipment. It's all here. It's everywhere you look and walk and turn. It's all about cinema. With that, you get something else here. Everybody, it doesn't matter who, your gardener, the person working at a restaurant, everybody is a fan of film. and that includes me. I'd like to think that I've seen them all. I talk about it all the time. At least the essentials, certainly. From The Godfather on down. Seen them all. And the quirky, weird ones that I talk about once in a while, like Fear of a Black Hat. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. But I'm moving on. Fear of a Black Hat. Write that down. There's another aspect of cinema that often gets talked about. And at Hollywood parties and get-togethers and lunches and whatever. And that is symbolism. Have you heard about What Makes Sammy Run? And if you haven't, write that down. What Makes Sammy Run? That's a novel that was written back in 1941 by Bud Schulberg. And it was inspired by his father. He was a Hollywood mogul. And it's a rags to riches story about the rise and fall of Sammy Glick. What makes Sammy run? And his climb up the ladder of success by deception, betrayal, literally stabbing people in the back. And what makes Sammy run is required reading. If you go to film school and you're some kid, you're 18 years old, and you come here with bright eyes and you're here. Required reading is what makes Sammy run. And now I'm not saying it's handed out by the professors, but it's handed out by the professors. And what makes Sammy run is part of the myth and legend that is symbolism and Hollywood. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'll give you a couple of examples. Remember Jiminy Glick Goes to Hollywood? Remember that movie with Martin Short? Remember that movie? That's an example. Sammy Glick is the character in What Makes Sammy Run. R.E. Gold in Entourage. That's based on Sammy Glick. It is. And so when people get together out here in the industry and they see symbolism in something, and especially What Makes Sammy Run, and they're, you bring up something, whatever. You could be bringing up maybe Entourage. Sammy Glick. And people look for symbolism. Now, that's just one example, but it truly does exist. Now, what kind of urban myth here in Hollywood, Hollyweird, I should say, does it happen? Did you see it? Is it real? Why is it done? Is it the director? Is it the studios? Is it the CIA? Is it the Illuminati? It's actually talked about. This urban legend of symbolism in cinema. It's nearly tangible here. One thing is for sure, and only with a few exceptions, when you are shooting a film, whether it's a student film or all the way up through the big studios, you shoot and frame with intention. You know what you are doing. You know what people are wearing. You know the set. You know the background. You know the foreground. You know the sky. You know the buildings. You know the signage. You frame everything, and you know your shot. It's what you do. It's your job. And then you move on and edit. You shoot everything. You know everything you've shot. You know what everybody is wearing. Everything is done with intention. And when you edit, you're doing it all again. You know everything. It's done with intent. By the time you are done, you know absolutely everything about every frame. Which brings up the question, is any of this symbolism an accident? No, it is not. Or probably more accurately, probably not. Some of it could be accidental. I doubt it. But you know what you are doing. Now, you have two types of symbolism. You have the story and its hidden message, the underlying tone, the thing in the background. And an example would be something like you're watching the Smurfs. And it's not really the Smurfs you're watching the Exodus from Egypt. And you get what I'm saying. But it's really the Smurfs, right? That's in the story. Okay, and you have the hero's tale, and we'll be talking to Robert Sullivan about that. But then you have the physical things. You have signs, painting, buildings, clothes, logos. You have direct and indirect stuff going on. Some of it subliminal, some of it not so much. But all of it is done with intention. When I bring up, is it the studios? Is it the director? Is the director a Freemason? Is the director the Illuminati? Is the studio run by the Illuminati? I don't know these things. But the stuff is there. And when I watch a film, and I started this, 10, 20 years ago when I started to hear about symbolism, I look for the hidden messages. It's amazing to me how you can jump on the net now and pull up videos with symbolism in cinema and find, I don't know how people find the time to connect the dots. But when you go back after knowing what you know about Back to the Future or The Matrix or whatever, just pick a film. It doesn't matter. And go back and watch, and then it's all there. It's right in front of you. Talk about hidden in plain sight. So what is the intention? Who is doing it, and why? Is it a subliminal message to get you to appreciate or want to interact or maybe not be shocked about possible Freemason messages or Illuminati or the New World Order, crowd control? Is it that? Is it the ET message that's hidden in plain sight? Talk about it all the time on this show. I do. If you think about it, if you want to make a blockbuster film, guaranteed to get a green light, get it made, and go make some money in Hollywood, you make a film about ET invading the Earth. That's what you do. And it's like 9 out of 10 films that are released here have that subject matter in it. Why is that message there? Why is it there? I don't know. It's scary, isn't it? But it is there. And tonight, we have Robert Sullivan IV on the show. He knows more about this than just about anybody on the planet. And he's a Freemason, which can only add to what he sees in a film. We're going to get to the bottom of all of this tonight. It's going to be a great show. This is Fade to Black. Let's get to some of the news that you know nothing about. A 3,400-year-old citadel has been found in a basement under construction in Israel. The Israeli Antiquities Authority announced today it had reached an agreement with a construction company to have the remains of a Bronze Age citadel fort incorporated into a building that is being erected near the beachfront on Balfour Street. Archaeologists uncovered the ruins during a large excavation, which had carried out the Kochav Construction Company's plans, and they started building a residential high-rise with underground parking. So they've reached an agreement. They're going to build the building, but in the basement, the citadel stays. It's going to be on display. So you'll be able to buy a condo upstairs and take your friends and family downstairs and show them a Bronze Age excavation. And it's gorgeous, by the way. It's huge. Numerous artifacts were discovered in the citadel's rooms, including ceramic figurines with human and animal forms, weapons, imported pottery vessels, evidence of extensive commercial and cultural relations with Cyprus and the rest of the land surrounding it in the Mediterranean. It's absolutely extraordinary. And the only way that they could do this, together to still complete the building was to allow the citadel to stay. I think it's really cool. We had a magnitude 4.5 earthquake this morning here in Southern California. Struck around 6:42 a.m. It woke me up. It was about 2 miles north of Banning, which is about 25 miles southeast of San Bernardino, and it's about 85 miles from our studio bunker here in Burbank, California. But it did wake me up. My eyes popped open, and I was thinking, man, did a bus roll by? What was that? And then I found out about an hour later on the news that we had an earthquake. Check this out. The Pentagon wants to make every ship an aircraft carrier. And what they want to do is they want to put drones on hundreds of Navy ships to provide air support to operations that are going on around the globe. The goal and it's called the Launch and Recovery System, as it has been dubbed by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, is to provide airborne surveillance and drone strikes from the decks of forward-deployed small ships without having to deploy an aircraft carrier or large fixed land bases. The $93.1 million contract was awarded to Northrop Grumman, and they did it on Christmas Eve. Trading in Chinese stock markets was halted again today for another 30 minutes after the start of trading. Trading was suspended for 15 minutes after the CSI 300 stock index fell another 5%. When trading resumed, the slide continued, and within just a few seconds, the index was down 7%. The abrupt decline triggered the so-called circuit breakers, which Chinese authorities recently implemented in a bid to tame the volatile markets that are continuing this slide. And it's continuing for a lot of different reasons. It's the second time in 4 days that those new circuit breakers have been used. Now, is this an indication of something worldwide? Is it? It's a large economy over there, second largest. We have the problems that are going on in Russia with their economy. We have the stupid news yesterday from North Korea announcing that they've, tested an H-bomb, a hydrogen bomb. And as it turns out, that's probably not the case. They lied, but they never do. So this is kind of strange, right? But there's a lot of crises going on right now. And the other thing that I don't understand is when we have this issue going on between Saudi Arabia and Iran getting ready to launch their oil onto the global markets, oil sitting at $36 a barrel, things crashing over in Saudi Arabia, and what is going on, of course, in Syria and Iraq, that the global economy right now is teetering. But here in the United States, it feels a little bit good. Feels good over here, doesn't it? So I don't get it. I looking at the stock market, and I kind of lost track over the last year or two. Don't follow it every single day. I'm busy. But, we had cracked 17,000. Things are good over here. Happy days are here again. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Robert Sullivan IV, the symbolism right here in Hollyweird, California. Robert Sullivan IV is our guest. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. When I come back, Robert Sullivan's going to be right here.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
This is TalkNetwork.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
Welcome back to Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on KGRA, The Planet, Talk Radio. I said it again. I said TalkNetwork.com. That movie is in my brain, and I went and checked it out today. I can't get it out of my brain. Can't get it out. Our guest tonight is Robert Sullivan IV. Tomorrow night, Fader Night, open lines all night long. Let's do this, man. Robert W. Sullivan IV is an author. He's a philosopher, historian, theologian, and an attorney. He attended Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania and earned his BA in history in 1995. Mr. Sullivan spent his junior year at St. Catherine's College, Oxford University, England, studying European history and philosophy. While in Oxford, Mr. Sullivan was a member of the Oxford Union, the Oxford University Conservative Association, and the Oxford Law Society. Prior to attending law school in the United States, he attended Trinity College, Oxford University, studying jurisprudence and international law. From 1997 to 2000, he attended Widener University School of Law, the Delaware campus, from where he received his Juris Doctorate. Mr. Sullivan is a Freemason and became a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason in 1999. His books are The Royal Arch of Enoch, The Impact of Masonic Ritual, Philosophy, and Symbolism, and Cinema Symbolism, A Guide to Esoteric Imagery in Popular Movies. He is currently writing Cinema Symbolism 2, more esoteric imagery from popular movies, as well as his first book, that is a work of fiction, A Pact with the Devil, the story of Elizabeth Burnblack and her involvement with the occult, black magic, and the dark arts. Sullivan is also working on another book on Masonry titled Freemasonry and the Path to Babylon. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Robert Sullivan IV, not to be confused with the third or the fifth. Robert, how are you tonight, sir?
Hey, Jimmy, thanks for having me back on Fade to Black. It's great to be here. Always a pleasure, and looking forward to tonight's show. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much. And there's nobody better. You know, I had said in the intro of the show, we're here, man. We're in the thick of it. We're in Burbank, California. And that's what everybody, it's funny. You could be out, moving the trash cans, out in front of your house, garbage truck pulls up, and if you're out there, the guy, driving the truck's going to go, hey, man, you check out the new DiCaprio film. It's what everybody does here. It's our life and it's our blood. And getting you on to talk about symbolism, because everybody here talks about it, but it's more Nobody wants to admit to it. You know what I mean? And everybody's
right.
Everybody's working on a film. And if I go up to somebody and go, hey, dude, somebody was wearing the Eye of Horus in the film you were shooting. I didn't see it. Really? It was there? It's like, come on. And it's a major, major subject here. And I can't wait to discuss all of this with you. The last time you were on, we did a full-on Freemason show. And it was amazing. It was so cool. And I wanted to say this. The comments after the show were, you know what, man? He let go of too many secrets. Either he's a disinfo Freemason guy, out there on the road, or he just scared the crap out of me. And that's the kind of show that you do. And I want to thank you for the last time you were on. It was great. What have you been up to since?
Yeah, well, no, it was a great show, and I'm not a disinfo guy, but I do present some controversial material. The last time I think I was on, Cinema Symbolism was just coming out, I want to say. It's hard for me to believe. It's like, where does the time go? Royal Arch of Enoch has been out. Royal Arch of Enoch this August will be 4 years old.
Right.
That I can't believe. In July, Cinema Symbolism will be 2 years old. It's like, my God, where does the time go? I've really been plowing away on these two new books. The book on Masonry that I'm working on, the Path to Babylon book, I put that on the back burner for the time being. That book's probably, to be brutally honest, probably 2 to 3 years away. I've been really working hard on Cinema Symbolism 2, which is, of course, a sequel to Cinema Symbolism, and this first work of fiction that I've been working on. These two books should be both completed by me within about 6 months. I'm looking at June, July at the latest, and I'm gearing for like an autumn, late summer, autumn release for these two books. And when they come out, I'll just start this process all over again, talking about a whole new slate of movies. And once these two come out, then it's going to be back to the grindstone for the Freemason book. This is sort of like the sequel, prequel to Royal Arch of Enoch, going to fill in a lot of the gaps that were left out. Going to revisit the Federal District. Going to revisit some of the architecture. This is Path to Babylon. But my next two books, the ones I'm actually writing right now as we speak, are Cinema Symbolism 2, which takes on a whole new slate of movies, and this work of fiction, The Pact with the Devil story. I'm real excited, and I'm real happy with the way they're coming out.
How long have you been a Freemason?
I became a Blue Lodge Freemason in 1997. Actually, this summer, the summer of 2016 actually marks the 20-year anniversary of my sort of official involvement with it. I didn't actually become a Master Mason. I wasn't raised, though, until 1997. And I became the Scottish Rite Mason joined the Scottish Rite in 1999.
And so 32nd degree, and that's daunting to a lot of people out there. It sounds like, you're the king of all Masons, when you hear that. It's like 32nd degree, really. How long between 99 and did it take for you to achieve the 32nd degree?
It took a couple months. It's not as long as you think, and it's not as hard as you think. Essentially, once you become a Freemason, the Blue Lodge Freemason, the third degree Master Mason,
right.
You could join the York Rite or the Scottish Rite or both of them. They'll welcome. By and large, they'll welcome you with open arms. Some valleys, that's the jurisdictions, do the degree work in different. What's the word I'm looking for? In different speeds. Some do it faster than others. I became a Blue Lodge Mason in 1997, and it was in 1999. I can't remember, to be brutally honest with you, the petition of how long it took for all that to go up, but I want to say it was a couple months process of going through degrees 4 through 32, if I recall correctly.
And do you sport the ring? Like right now, are you wearing the ring?
I have two. I'm not wearing any of the rings presently, but I do have two. I have two Scottish Rite rings that I do wear, and one I call my 12 table ring. because it has a very large diamond in it, and I call it the 12-table ring because from 12 tables away you can see it. So no, I do sport 2 Scottish Rite rings, and one is sort of over the top when it comes to diamonds and gold encrusted, and like I said, I call it my 12-table ring. But I do wear 2 Scottish Rite rings. I'm not wearing them presently, but I do wear them.
Do you get grief or feedback, from your Mason brothers after you do shows like this and after the last show? Because I pushed you around a little bit. I wanted to know things, right?
Sure.
And do you get feedback? Do you get blowback, or do you get a pat on the back?
By and large, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. A little over a year ago, back in October, I was invited to lecture to a bunch of York Rite Masons in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. I went up for that. The actual Grand Master of the state of Massachusetts was attended. There's actually a photo of this on my website. If you go to the contact and social media page, you'll see a picture of me standing there lecturing. So it's gone over very well, by and large. That being said, I would say the feedback I've received, to be completely, fair and balanced about this, I would say is about 90% positive. I have received a couple emails saying, you gave too much away, or you've gone too far, or you're too much of an iconoclast, or one Miss Mason emailed me and said I was demonic. So they do come. That does happen. I wouldn't say otherwise. But overall, it's been overwhelmingly positive, which I intended it to be. But that being said, I'm not foolish either. I know the Royal Arch of Enoch book is not without controversy. So some negative response was expected by me.
Well, you've said to me before, and I've heard you say publicly that the image of Freemasonry and what is real are two different things. And I think part of that, and I want to discuss the Freemasons for a little bit, but this is going to be a Holly Weird type of show tonight. But I think that when you go back about 150 years, when the infighting that was going on with the other secret societies around the world, pointing fingers, those are the bad guys. No, those are the bad guys. And I'm talking about the Illuminati and other, secret organizations. So you guys fell into that mix, right or wrong. I really don't know. I'm not a Freemason, but you guys got thrown into that dark side of everything. And part of it is because you guys were secretive and you guys weren't public about certain things. And so that has rolled right into today. And the fascination with TV and the internet and another generation that is into the esoteric and into dark things and symbolism look at Freemasons as a role model of the dark side.
Yeah, I don't think that's really, that's really the way it shouldn't be. I understand it's anything in this world has a light and dark side to it. I would say Freemasonry, for me at least, has been very positive. Freemasonry did develop this sort of sinister reputation. It goes back to really shortly. It really goes back to after the founding of this country and after George Washington died, is when you had these Royal Arch Masons, these high degree Masons working together in congruence over state lines to formulate state policy in secret behind locked doors. And these guys would have told you, the guy who was leading this was a man named DeWitt Clinton. He's the former governor of New York and former mayor of New York City. You may have heard in your travels the term the Colombian Illuminati. This was the American version of the Bavarian Illuminati.
Right.
DeWitt Clinton was the guy who was supposed to be in charge of this. This is where this sinister reputation came in. This was by and large completely undone in the mid-1820s by something called the William Morgan Affair, where this was exposed, these secret workings were going on, and the American public learned that, within Masonry was this secret group who was sort of formulating state policy without consent, and there was no transparency. Masonry took a massive backlash.
It was outlawed, right? It was outlawed.
No, it wasn't outlawed. A lot of it wasn't necessarily outlawed, but there was a massive backlash against it. Some state Grand Lodges closed up because of it.
Right.
And Masonry essentially reemerged as a charitable organization. It distanced itself from any sort of esoteric tradition, and it survived it. And this sort of the non-esoteric tradition, where Masonry was looked at as sort of this mystical group that founded this new nation, and this patriotic order was now looked at as this dark cabal. So Masonry, to distance itself from that, reemerged as just, we just help widows and orphans, basically. It was this tradition that carried Masonry through the 19th century, through most of the 20th century, but with the advent of the internet, the millennials joining definitely have a much more interested in the esoteric side of Masonry and the symbolism than say, the average Mason right now who is over 55 years. That is irrefutable. But there is, with Masonry, there is a light and there's a dark side to it. You get into some of the mystical teachings of it. I mean, I don't think it's evil or anything like that, but it's mystical and secret, and some people want to project their shadows onto that. But it's always been something that's fascinated me, and so much so that I joined it. And I can tell you, Jimmy, that neither one of those two books would exist but for my membership within Freemasonry.
Well, what do you say to the critics out there that would, those pancake breakfasts, man? It's a front.
The only thing I can say is, I know all the stories. I've heard it all, that there's this secret group within Freemasonry that pulls the strings and this and that. And then you look at a lot of the Masonic architecture within Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, and you say, there it is. There's the evidence of this. Really, if there is some secret group within Masonry pulling the strings, I've never seen it. I've never been exposed to it. When you get into the architecture and things like Baltimore has it, in Washington, D.C., and the Erie Canal and Union College, the best way for me to describe this is they're using Freemasonry and the symbolisms associated with it to nation build. That's what was going on. But whether you are an operative Mason and a Freemason, such as people, Benjamin Henry Latrobe, Robert Mills, James Hoban, just to give you some names, or you were a politician, DeWitt Clinton, the Livingstones, Ezra Ames, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin. These guys were using the tools and the symbols and the teachings of Freemasonry to nation build. And they saw it, they would have seen it as a very positive thing. But again, because this was somewhat done in secret and there was no transparency, it developed that there was a backlash, and it developed this sinister, not to everybody, of course, but it developed to some people that there was this sinister secret cabal, pulling the strings. And at one point in time there was, but it has gone away. If it still remains, I have never seen it, and that's having been involved with this for 20 years.
Here in Hollywood, there is Freemason symbolism on every corner. You see it you just do. And part of it is what went on in the 1920s and the 1930s here with the trend with all things Egypt and that look. And so that part of it is here. But the Freemason aspect, when you go to Hollywood Boulevard, and I was talking to you about this earlier today, right next to the Hollywood Bowl is a temple. And then as you go down to Hollywood Highland, you make a right, and right there is where Jimmy Kimmel broadcasts now, but it's the El Capitan Theater. And before he broadcasted there, it was a variety of different things. I worked there myself personally. And inside of that, and it's a huge building. It's not small, and it's beautiful, and it's got all of the Egyptian things and stuff on the outside. But on the inside are rooms. I don't know what it's like now with Kimball, but back then, rooms upon rooms, all stone, all carved, and big, and you could walk around, and it was a labyrinth, and it was gnarly, and it was a nightclub when I worked there. And there were rumors with the staff there of tunnels, of secret rooms, of secret passages, and this used to be this Mason temple. And when you find that out as you walk around this place, then you start to trip, because it's a kind of a spooky place, and it is stone, and it is carved, and it's not fake. You go up and knock on the walls, and you realize that these things are 3 and 4 foot thick. It's a brutal building with a crazy historic past about these hidden rooms and chambers and tunnels that are running underneath Hollywood. How much of that is true, and how much of that directly influenced Hollywood? Because it's right there on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah, my understanding is what you said is all of it is true. You had with you know, and I get into this in the book. I mean, you have in the golden age of Hollywood. I mean, a lot of the founders of these Hollywood studios were Masons. Not all of them, but a lot of them were. And a lot of the golden age actors were Freemasons. I mean, just off the top of my head, Clark Gable, Douglas Fairbanks Jr. and Sr., I believe Oliver Hardy was, and the temple you're talking about, that was the Masonic, Hollywood temple. That would have been, this is where Jimmy Kimmel is now. And this would have been the lodge where these guys would have met. And there was this rumor going around, and I'm familiar with it, that underneath the city and connecting, that this temple, that under this temple there was this series of underground tunnels that apparently ran to this temple from the studios. And the story was that the Hollywood elites and the actors could duck down into these tunnels, from the sets or from the studios, and just go right, bypass traffic or bypass, the neighborhood is essentially, and just go right to this Masonic temple. And apparently, I haven't seen the episode. I heard the rumors too. But Kimmel apparently on one of the shows confirmed all this. He said that he was delving into the history of the building, talked about how it was a Masonic temple, and had heard the rumors also, and apparently went down and did some excavation, and there were these tunnels down there that ran under Hollywood, ran under the movie making industry, and according to Kimmel, he said that the tunnels were in a state, it had caved in at some places. You couldn't use them anymore. They were in a state of disrepair, dilapidation. They were dangerous. They had been sealed off. And he said I believe at one point he said you could look down it, but you couldn't go down it because it had caved in. So apparently, I mean, if it's good enough for Jimmy Kimmel, it's good enough for me. If he says they're there, and it's his broadcasting studio for Jimmy Kimmel Live, I have no reason to doubt it. And you are absolutely correct, Jimmy. That is the old, whenever you watch Jimmy Kimmel Live, that is the old Masonic Hollywood temple that these golden era Hollywood actors and movie producers and directors would have met in. No question about it.
Yeah, when I worked there, I remember one of the first times I was there, and I'm walking around thinking and I was talking. I was like, this is the most incredible building like ever. And these columns and the construction and the ceilings and the carving. And I was talking about it, and somebody goes, "Hey, man, well, this is the old Mason temple. This is Freemasons, and it's got secret tunnels and secret rooms and hidden this and hidden." And I looked around and went, now that makes sense. And it's a big building too. For everybody that's trying to use their imagination here, I have no idea how many rooms or how big it is, but it's huge. It's not small. It is a big, complex building that you can get lost in.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been in it, but, I don't doubt your description of it. A lot of these Masonic temples, and Grand Lodge complexes are very ornate. They're very well done. They have hidden treasure troves. I can speak to this personally. The lodge that I am in here in Baltimore, the Grand Lodge, actually has a museum in it, and I've been going to this lodge for years. And this was back in like 2011, I want to say. There's a library. The Grand Lodge building has a library in it, and I wanted to use the library. And it's not easy to get access to, even for a Freemason. I mean, I had to jump through I don't know how many hoops. So I go up to this library. I finally got into it, and I go in, and next to the library is this other entrance, and it's this museum that's in the Grand Lodge building. And I had no idea it was there, and no one does. And they're very, very, I mean, even for me, we can't let you in there. And I said, look, come on, guys, I'm a Mason. Here's my membership card, for God's sakes, if you want to see it. And they said, no. They said, this is off limits. They said, if you want to go in, they said, we have to have someone standing next to you at all times to make sure none of this stuff is pilfered or anything like that. I said, okay, you want to come in, get the guy, or whoever the curator. I don't have a problem with that. Well, I mean, we go in there, and I mean, my God, I mean, there's things in there that belong in the Smithsonian. And I mean, I was floored by this. I mean, locks of hair of Benjamin Franklin, pieces of the White House given to the Grand Lodge from Harry Truman, with pictures of Harry Truman standing there, giving it to the Maryland Grand Master, things that belong to Martha Washington. I mean, just incredible. I mean, incredible relics. So yeah, I mean, these Masonic buildings can conceal away some very unique items. And I've never been in the one in Hollywood, but I would have no reason to doubt your description of it. And at one time, who knows what possibly went on in there? And you think back of all the major Hollywood players. I mean, you probably think one point in time, Oliver Hardy was sitting in there next to Clark Gable and Douglas Fairbanks. There they were. I mean, right then and there.
With and I mentioned this in the show introduction, with the obvious symbolism that is there, and some of it not so obvious, and some of it is meant to be subliminal. And whether it's the Illuminati or Freemasons or just a crazy director or Hollywood studio head that's doing this, I don't know. But it is there. What is the intention of doing it? I mean, is it to sway public opinion? Is it, what's the message and why do it? Because it's not on one specific subject. It could have, anything there. I don't think there's anything in a film that's, get out, go kill. I'm not talking about that. But there's symbolism that is there. What's the intention? Why would a director want to do it? The answer is numerous, and it depends on the context of the film. Some of it could be, I mean, and again, it's contextual, Jimmy. Some of it can be done for pure sensationalist purposes of, let's put this in here so we can get people talking about the movie. Even if it's negative, we can get them talking about it. Some of it could be sensationalist purposes. What the cinema book tries to do is really present the symbolism that's presented, the underneath symbolism, the mythology, the Gnosticism, the ancient religions that are presented in these movies, the archetypes. I get into Jungian psychology, the monomyth, all these things that, prey, what I call, what you could say, prey on the collective unconscious, on the unconscious mind, on the subconscious, where you see it and you see it visibly, but it's more affecting your subconscious mind. What it really boils down to, and it really depends on the level of sophistication of the director. Some of these guys are very, very adroit with it. I mean, are very good with it, and they know what they're doing. And when you break it down contextually, I mean, it is like opening a brand new. It's like watching a brand new movie. Because they can be multi-layered. It could be an ancient religion. I mean, it could be religion. I mean, it could be the Christ story, right? Being
retold. It could be the Gnostic religion. To me, when I was doing the cinema book, the overarching theme that I was finding over and over again was modern mythology making. I mean, that is really the best way for me to describe it.
Let me jump in right there. We'll be right back. More with Robert Sullivan IV. Hollywood symbolism right after this. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
People love to shop. What if you could shop and it was actually good for you? What if you could actually purchase items that bettered your life? What goes into your body is important to what quality of life you have. How about shopping for items that better your health? GetTheT.com is that shopping place. We're not only tea, even though that's our number one seller, we are about helping your health. There's Colostrum LD for those of you with autoimmune troubles. The product helps your stomach get on track. GI problems produce pain. Get relief with Colostrum LD. How about some fat burners? Or maybe some joint aid? Or a power cleanse? There's so much to tell you with very little time. So get help health-wise at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Or you can call our friendly operators at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Get help and relief by going shopping. Shop at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Serving people with great products for over 8 years. GetTheT.com.
This is TalkNetwork.com.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you. And your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for the ultimate Bluetooth speaker system? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. It's just $99. And you use the promo code Jimmy, and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Stay interactive with the show. We blow through 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 tweets in every show. It is live to my left. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Use the hashtag F2B. That is the sandbox. Come hang out. We don't bite. It's a great time. Go and do it. Email is Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Tonight, our guest is Robert Sullivan IV. And we are discussing symbolism in Hollywood, and not only in film either. And we're going to jump into that. But Robert, I got to tell you, the Simpsons is probably the most symbolistic production out there in Hollywood today. I mean, they go out of their way to insert symbolism in nearly every episode.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hold myself out as an expert on The Simpsons, but I've heard that. But I mean, the show, the few little bit that I've watched it, the people who are doing that seem to really know what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't play around. And the thing is, even though it's geared for adults, kids watch it because it's a cartoon, and it's right there, and it is totally for a child that is watching it, totally subliminal. You know what I mean? I mean, they see they've taken great lengths to represent the Freemasons on the show too, as well, and the Illuminati and government conspiracies and UFOs. It's all in The Simpsons. It's you're absolutely right. They go to great lengths to make sure that it is there.
Sure. The one episode, Homer the Great, which is where he's initiated into the Masonic Temple, the Stonecutters. Of course, they do the song in it, which has been my bumper music on several shows before. So, yeah, I'm very familiar with that one.
Yeah, that's all he wanted. That was the funny thing, too. That's all he wanted, right? So, to become a member. Now, let's go down the list. And I have talked about it seems like probably once a week at some point on this show, my love and affection for all things Back to the Future, all three films. And for me, even strange enough, I like Back to the Future Part 3 probably the best in my own weird way. But the symbolism in Back to the Future is strange, intentional, and never-ending.
Oh, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Back to the Future was a movie, the trilogy is I take on in Cinema Symbolism. You have a very interesting retelling of the Egyptian Osirian religion within Back to the Future. Not to mention, I'll get to that in a minute. I don't buy into the whole 9/11 prediction Back to the Future thing. I can't believe that.
Well, can we address that for a second? And I know that you've talked about this from time to time, but it seems it seems to be there. Okay, I've gone back and I've watched those scenes, and the scene, where they're in the house and the Twin Towers in the background, and Marty or his dad is hanging upside down, and the snow and the that's a pretty trippy thing to have there. And the what was it with when Marty arrives at the mall? He arrives there at 1:16. And that's bizarre, because if you flip that over, just like you flip over the other scene that is upside down, you have 9/11. But how could they? And I'm with you. How could they possibly have been able to predict the future? How?
Yeah,
could
I just don't buy into that. It's too far removed. If you start getting into the realm of flipping things backwards and turning it upside down, you can start seeing this stuff, anywhere, is the problem with it. I do believe there's a lot of hidden symbolism with it within the Back to the Future movies. I just don't buy into the whole 9/11 thing. If you really want to go forward, this is something I do. If you want to go with, if you want to craft an argument, that movies are media, and you get into the idea of the collective unconscious and these archetypes and these archetypal imagery, which is inherited. This goes back to the works of Plato, the philosopher. He called this thing the theory of forms, that our unconscious minds inherited this treasure trove from the past of these symbols. And if you want to say, okay, well, movies are human expressions, they're human artwork at the end of the day, and they seem to be predictive. And there are instances that are very weird, and I don't disagree with you. I don't buy into the Back to the Future 9/11 per se, but there are instances where you just can't make this stuff up, where a movie seems to be predicting something. I mean, the one that's more disturbing to me than the Back to the Future is the first Matrix movie. I mean, it's especially in the context it's presented. You have the idea of the old ending of the old reality, the start of a new one, and you've got Neo as this solar, Christ Gnostic savior figure, and his passport expires on September 11th, 2001. I mean, it's the full date. I mean, it's right there on the screen, and it came out 2 years before 9/11. So, I mean, you're in a fair time frame at that point. Where like the Back to the Future movie was filmed was made in 1984, so you're 16, 17 years removed from the incident. So then you get into, okay, well, how can this be? And you could get into the argument where do the Wachowski brothers really have knowledge of this? I mean, that seems unlikely. And you get into the whole idea of, okay, I mean, this is a controversial theory that I'm putting out there, but it's worth talking about, is the idea of if you're going to say the collective unconscious, Plato's theory of form, it's not only inherited, is it also predictive? And that's very, very controversial. The idea that creative expression and movies, things like that, television shows are contained, because we're all interconnected on this, it's collective, it's all of us, that somehow not only is this thing inherited, but it's also somehow predictive. I'm not an expert on this. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. But this seems to have some validity to me. And it certainly would explain some of these weird coincidences, which I don't really think are coincidences in some when you get into movies being predictive or prophetic, would certainly provide an explanation, a rational explanation as to how some of this stuff is materializing in films before it actually happens in reality.
I went and checked that out once. How many films, prior to 2001 mentioned September 11th, in the film, and 2001 specifically. The list was long. And then I went and started to look at and it's there, and it's there a lot. And then you've got to move on past coincidence at some point. Now, look, that is where you're getting into real crazy conspiracy theory. Is it possible? But it seems like when you move past odds, that date was used a lot in film, and it was there, and it was suggestive. It's in the background. It's on signs. It's on shirts. It's like you said, Neo's passport. It's there, and it's there a lot. And at what point do we say it's not coincidence that maybe it was collective consciousness and somehow it was affecting the writers and the directors, and they subliminally used the September 11th date?
Yeah, I mean that's certainly possible. I mean, and you even go back to, and this is something I'm getting more into in Cinema Symbolism too. But you get into the whole thing with, the one movie that screamed off the page to me, with this, and it seems to have kind of gone under the radar, was the first. Was the John Carpenter movie, Escape from New York, where they literally fly the plane into Lower Manhattan. And that movie came out in 1981, and then the terrorists had abducted the plane, which in the movie was Air Force One, and flew it into Lower Manhattan. And like I said, this is, 20 years earlier. So, you can find this. I found in some instances, I think in some instances, I don't buy into where if you turn this thing upside down or whatever. I mean, that to me, you can start seeing stuff, and you can start seeing anything you want to when you start doing that. But when you get into the thing with the passport with Neo and the Matrix, I mean, that's very disturbing because that movie came out approximately a year and a half, 2 years beforehand, and especially the context of that movie, where you get into this whole notion of, the ending of one reality, the start of a new one. You can tie this into an astrological age, the end of the age of Pisces, the start of the new age of Aquarius. These ages are always heralded with destruction and death. So, that one to me is much more sinister than something that happened 20, 30 years earlier. But it could be. Like I said, I don't hold myself out as a psychiatrist, but I am familiar with Carl Jung, and I have researched this, and it is something that I'm definitely delving into in my next book. This whole idea. I mean, there are some things going on in movies that are just so crazy. I'll give you one if you want to hear one. I mean, this one comes out of the world of you can't make this stuff up.
Right.
I mean, and there's two of them. Well, one is more innocuous than the other. They're both somewhat innocuous, but you go into. I mean, this one is really kind of hard to believe. Is you get into this whole idea in the Matrix movies, you will find the number 101 turning up all over the place in the three Matrix movies. The number has two meanings. It's around Neo, and it's binary code. I believe it's binary code for it's either the number 5 or the number 6, and it ties into him being the 5th or 6th iteration of the one. The number also turns up around this guy in the second movie called the Merovingian. You'll see where I'm going in with this in a minute. And he's on floor 101, and he keeps. If you remember, if you've seen the second Matrix movie, he keeps all the goofy programs that are the fears and anxieties of mankind, the werewolves, the rogue programs, the vampires, the ghosts, who are the two twins. This is all the rogue programs that are the living anxieties and fears of mankind. The idea of him housing this in floor 101 comes out of the world of George Orwell, 1984, which is in 1984, room 101 in the Ministry of Love was where they tortured the people with their fears and anxieties.
That's right.
If you actually go back in time to the year 1984, you had the release of the Terminator movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this is 1984. And of course, he is Cyber9 System Model 101. And he, of course, what's he do? He terrorizes mankind. He's just death incarnate who wants to destroy mankind. This is where this gets weird. It's the very next year in 1985, and this whole thing, this 101 ties in with the Matrix movies. The very next year, Arnold Schwarzenegger made a movie called Commando, and his actual name in this movie is Matrix. And it's, watch out for Matrix, beware Matrix, Matrix is coming for us, Matrix wants to kill us. So you have this whole tie-in with Floor 101, 1984, Schwarzenegger, Model 101, and then the next year he's the Matrix. So, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, and it's just crazy to think that actually happened, and it did. Another great one, when you get into prediction, is a movie that came out, I want to say it came out in 1982, 1983. It's a movie, it died in the box office. Probably a lot of the listeners have never heard of it. It was a movie starring Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner, and it's called Hanky Panky. And it was this stupid, silly comedy it was a cross-train adventure, murder mystery on a train. And the whole movie was about this guy, Gene Wilder. He's from Chicago, Illinois, and the character's name is none other than Michael Jordan. And this movie was released approximately 1 year before the Chicago Bulls drafted the Michael Jordan. I mean, go figure. And it's just these goofy little things in movies that seem to predict the future. I can't account for it. It's weird. It's strange, and it happens. The only way I can possibly explain those sort of things, and it ties into the 9/11, is, this is Jung's collective unconscious, Plato's theory of forms at work, only it's predicting not being inherited, if that makes sense.
So I did a list of 9/11 just for you today. In Independence Day, Jeff Goldblum's computer at the beginning of the movie shows 9/11. In Armageddon, the countdown clock for the spaceship shows 9/11. In Enemy of the State, Brill's birthday, 9/11. In The Patriot, Mel Gibson says 9 pounds, 11 ounces. Pearl Harbor, 9/11, is on Affleck's optician test. In the movie Seven, the tape recorder that they show in the movie is paused at 9/11. In the movie Traffic, boxes in the back of a van are all stamped with 9/11 on it. There's a lot of different movies that I didn't list here that you're walking in a warehouse or they show warehouse stuff. 9/11 on the boxes. I've got lots of Terminator 2, the bridge.
Terminator 2.
Yeah,
right.
with the T-1000, the bridge right there. It says 9/11 on the bridge. It's right there. And it's nuts how people have the time to go and find this. But when you do, the number is not 823. It's not even 8/11. Right. It's 9/11, and it's everywhere, and it's predictive. It's kind of frightening. I don't get it.
And don't forget also, prior to 9/11, you had the debut of the Lone Gunman, the X-Files spinoff. You got to know this one. It was the X-Files spinoff, was called The Lone Gunman. I want to say it debuted in March of 2001. And the pilot episode was terrorists. It was a jetliner, a commercial plane was going to be flown into the World Trade Centers, and be blamed on, Islamic terrorists. And this was 8 months before the actual event. So yeah, I mean, go figure. It's definitely hard to reconcile. No question about it. You had I went back. I'm doing in Cinema Symbolism 2. You had I'm doing a bit on the Illuminati in film. This isn't like eyes and triangles in the background, but just some of the movies that feature Illuminati type groups in them. And I was watching the X-Files Fight the Future movie the other day, because there's like the cabal that runs the world in that movie. And you had a I can't remember what it was. I'm drawing a blank right now, but there was something in that related to a potential future catastrophe, in September or whatever. I can't remember what it is right now. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely there. And it's, how does it get there? But the Matrix one is the one that just blows me away, because it's the full date and it's the context of the movie. And it definitely could be some sort of inherited subconscious technique that is turning up. I guess as a lawyer, you could counter-argue this by saying, and this is what I would probably say, is the only problem with that is, it's you have this September 11th thing, but where are the other movies that are showing future tragedies, for instance, like the death of Princess Diana per se, or something like that. I'm trying to think.
Well, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Or the nuclear meltdown in Japan. Are there movies that predict that date or anything like that? So it seems to be one and not the other. That would sort of be my counter argument to it. But no, I don't disagree with you. The 9/11 thing definitely turns up, and it's definitely disturbing, to say the least.
Jimmy, please ask Robert if intentional esoteric symbolism and cinema have gone hand in hand since the beginning of film, like all the way back to Metropolis.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely to that. Yeah, I mean, this is not anything modern. And I mean, this even predates movies, where you'll have esoteric themes found in Mozart's Magic Flute opera. You will have these esoteric themes found in the operas of Richard Wagner. It's amazing. You mentioned Metropolis. That is a very Gnostic movie. You have a demiurge character in that, the guy who is running Metropolis. And you have the slaves, the people who live underground. Naturally, are more spiritual than the people who live, in the highfalutin areas, who are only concerned with materialism. This is very Gnostic.
Right.
You get into the horror movies of Universal. I mean, the Dracula story with Bram Stoker. This is something I took on in the first book, Cinema Symbolism. Has some very very veiled themes in that. This comes out of the world of Stoker, and the whole idea of Eastern mysticism treading on Victorian Christianity. Frankenstein's monster is a Kabbalistic golem. The Wizard of Oz movie is written by L. Frank Baum. He was in Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy movement. Deep political allegories in Wizard of Oz, as well as an entire initiation into the mystery tradition. This is something I took on in Cinema Symbolism as well. The James Bond movies of the 60s. So no, just to answer the question, you will find this stuff in Hollywood in all its eras, no matter what time you look at it.
With the response to Cinema Symbolism, what were the number one subjects and films that everybody was reacting to?
In the first book?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I took on the Exorcist movie was the first chapter. I'm sorry. I don't think you heard the question. The feedback. Okay,
the feedback. People writing you. What were their favorite movies and references that you made to?
I mean, like what portions of the book was well responded to?
Yeah, because you mentioned.
Am I hearing you right?
Yeah, because I know I want to talk about Wizard of Oz, and I know that people must have reacted to that. But also, maybe
that was a huge one. The Wizard of Oz stuff. I mean, I would say. I would say out of the entire book, the Wizard of Oz was probably number one. Back to the Future was up there.
Right.
People really like that material with the Egyptian and the repetition with the buildings. I mean, Zemeckis wreaks havoc with you with the buildings in that with your subconscious mind. The James Bond material was very well reacted to. I would say probably. I mean, I guess if I had to do 1, 2, and 3, that would probably be a Wizard of Oz, Back to the Future, and then the James Bond material. Because again, that comes out of the world of you can't make this stuff up. But overall, all of it. I mean, I would say it's all been well reacted to. But I guess those 3 would probably be the favorites if I had to guess.
When we come back after the break, I do want to spend some time on Wizard of Oz, and for a variety of different reasons. Number one, and especially for me growing up, I'm a little older than you, but anybody in the audience that grew up in the 60s and 70s knows exactly what I'm talking about. Wizard of Oz was aired once a year on national TV, and it was an event. Right? Oh, let's go. We got to get home. We got to do. It's tomorrow. Or whatever. And it was a big deal, and it was focused obviously at children, but also at families, and it was something that you watched and discussed together. And the social aspects of the film, of course, you have Dorothy Gage and the entire Joseph Campbell hero's tale angle too that is very blatant in the movie. And I do want to talk about Campbell here in a little bit. But it was something that was an event across America every single year. It was a very influential film, but it had messages from the word go to the end credits. And I think it's absolutely incredible what you have done with that. So let's do that after the break. But when leading up to the break,
yeah, sure.
The one part of the Wizard of Oz to you that was so remarkable and obvious, what would it be?
Oh boy, good God! Well, there's so much going on in that movie. I kind of like. I like the film, and I like the levels that it presents. You have the political allegory, then you have the mystery tradition, Gnostic movie of it. I mean, I really like the idea of. The reality is black and white. The magical land is in color. I think that is very, very well done. I like the special effects. I mean, when I saw The Wizard of Oz as a kid, as a child growing up, I mean, the first time I saw it and the first time I saw the wizard with that floating green head, I mean, that scared the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now it doesn't have any effect whatsoever. But when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God! I mean, you're in this like peaceful, magical land. I mean, you have this horrible monster. And that kind of always just struck with me is, how do you have this beautiful land where everything's, idyllic and beautiful? I mean, you got the Wicked Witch, of course, but she's over in her castle, and you have this wizard running the show, and the wizard's this, horrible monster. He's evil. And that always stuck with me is, why is that? And I thought that was very, very, very well done. There's some very deep meaning to that. The Wizard of Oz, the actual wizard is a Gnostic demiurge. This whole thing is the Jack and the Beanstalk story, going up the tornado or up the beanstalk in the magical land is being run by a giant ogre. And this is a Gnostic demiurge. But we can talk about this. Yeah, we'll talk about this when we come back.
Let me jump in right there. And I always thought the black and white part was because they didn't have color film back then. But that was me, and this is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is Robert Sullivan IV, Symbolism in Hollywood. More with Robert right after this short break. Stay right there.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Ray Sobbs here once again to tell you about the Space and Alien Snowfest Ufology Conference taking place in the ski resort city of Big Bear Lake in sunny Southern California. What a lineup. Richard Dolan, Chase Kletzky, Micah Hanks, George Norrie, Jason Martell, Jimmy Church, Linda Moulton Howe, keynote speaker Stanton Friedman, and more. Along with the speakers and lecturers, join the luncheon hosted by Jimmy Church. See a world-class UFO ET-themed ice sculpture contest with attendees voting the winner. Enjoy the quaint shops, restaurants, and pubs in Big Bear Lake Village, and enjoy some of the best sky watching you can imagine. After the hectic holidays, gift yourself with a retreat the first week of February and come relax with us in a premier ski resort town high in the mountains of the Southern Sierras with an average of over 300 sunny days a year. Take advantage and book your lodging early and get your tickets now. Visit our website and register at aliensnowfest.com. That's aliensnowfest.com.
This is TalkNetwork.com.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight is Robert Sullivan IV. We're discussing symbolism in Hollywood film. Tomorrow night, Fader Night, open lines. And I wanted to say really quick, I talked to Ray Hobbs today a couple of times, and he is much better. And I believe he's going to get kicked out of the hospital tomorrow. I believe they've had enough of Ray Hobbs. So he'll be home tomorrow, and he's feeling better, and he wanted to say hello to everybody. All right. Now, our guest tonight is Robert Sullivan. And Robert, right before the break, we started to talk about Wizard of Oz. And the symbolism that is there was stuff that I didn't get when I was a kid. Now when I watch the film, I get lost. I get lost in the symbolism. I mean, it's all there. The oil industry, the farming industry, the Federal Reserve. It seems to be all there and intentional. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're completely right. You have with Wizard of Oz, you have 3 levels of symbolism going on. Number one is, of course, what you would call your profane explanation. This is about a little girl who goes to a magical land, has an adventure, goes home, the end, have a nice day, yada, yada, yada. Then you have these 2 deeper levels of symbolism going on. Again, I'll point out real quick that the guy who wrote the Wizard of Oz story was a man named L. Frank Baum, and he was a member of Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy movement. So, that's neo-Gnosticism for just to short circuit this. So it's no surprise to find this material in his in the book and thus in the movie. With the movie and the book, you have this political allegory going on as well. You have 2 symbol levels, the political allegory and then this mystery tradition, Gnostic theme within the Wizard of Oz. The political allegory is somewhat more well known. It's really a retelling of the economic, social, political world. This is the Wizard of Oz, of course, from around 1895 to around 1900. I think that's when the Wizard of Oz was published, where you have William McKinley, the United States president. He is, of course, the Wizard of Oz. He lives in Emerald City. This is representing green money. He wants to use the gold standard to back green money. Hence, you have the Emerald City is green money. You have the yellow brick road, which is the gold standard. The gold standard leads to the creation of paper money. Hence, the yellow brick road leads to Emerald City. In the book, this was changed in the movie. In the book, the slippers are silver. This represented something called the free silver movement that was going on in this time, and it's the exact same thing as the gold standard. It was to use silver to back paper money, so she's walking on the gold standard. She's using silver. It's silver and gold lead to the creation of paper money. The slippers were changed to ruby in the movie because the silver. There's 2 reasons. One is the silver slippers didn't look right against the gold. You couldn't see them. She looked weird, and they had this brand new Technicolor, and they wanted to use as many bright colors as they could, so they changed them to ruby. And then, of course, you have the scarecrow is the American farmer. That's absolutely correct. You have the Tin Man is the laborer who is immobile. This is representative of the Depression of 1896, where laborers were cast off in droves, were unemployed. Hence, he is immobile. Laborers went back to work via the oil companies. Hence, to get the Tin Man moving, you have to oil him up. And again, this is symbolic of J.P. Morgan, Nelson Rockefeller, Standard Oil, the oil companies, putting the American laborer back to work. We have the Wizard of Oz, who is William McKinley. You have the Cowardly Lion, all bark, no bite, symbolizing the 2 political challengers to McKinley, who were just that, all bark, no bite. William Jennings Bryan and Eugene Debs, the latter being his socialist candidate. You have Dorothy Gale as sort of the all-American girl, the common American, the populist. Dorothy backwards is Theodore, so you could say she is symbolic of the man who became president after McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt. You have the 2 little dancing troupes of the Munchkins. This is going on at this exact same time in the late 1890s. The Lullaby League, which is the women's suffrage movement, which was sleeping yet waking up. This is why they're the Lullaby League. And then the little Lollipop Guild, which is obviously unionized labor, which was coming onto the scene at this time. And you got little other clues going on in this.
What about? I got to do my favorite part. Why was the witch green? Is there symbolism there? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, you can look at her as green-skinned. And also, this was not in the movie. You can look at her as the negative side of paper money, which would be inflation.
Okay.
So you can look at her as an evil version of that. The symbolism with her is a little more obvious in the book. That it was a little twisted around. In the book, she has one eye. She's a cyclops, and she can see all the land of Oz from on top of her tower. Boy, oh boy, where does this sound familiar? I mean, does this sound like it may have inspired J.R.R. Tolkien for Sauron in The Lord of the Rings with the all-seeing eye on top of the tower in Mordor there? And the idea was that this comes out of mythology of an evil figure with one eye being able to purview the land. The name of this creature escapes me. It's in the book, but this comes all out of mythology. So with The Wizard of Oz, you have this political allegory going on, with the characters. But then you also have, on a much deeper level, this whole idea of initiation into gnosis, initiation into the mystery tradition. This would have been well known to L. Frank Baum, being a part of Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy movement, where you have the girl, Dorothy Gale, going up the tornado. This is the ladder of Mithras, the ladder of Minerva, the winding staircase of Freemasonry, to go to this magical land to receive gnosis, to receive revelation, to receive epiphany. If you want to go back in time, this is Alice in Wonderland, only she goes down the rabbit hole to receive gnosis. Dorothy Gale goes up the tornado, goes to the magical land, walks on the golden path of religion. According to Madame Blavatsky, all organized religions led to a false messiah. Hence, the golden path of religion leads to a ogre, a terrible god. This is the Gnostic demiurge. Blavatsky said, in order to be initiated into the mysteries, initiated into gnosis, you have to have intelligence, fortitude, and courage. Hence, the three sojourners who joined Dorothy require intelligence, a brain, or courage, or a heart, fortitude for the Tin Man. That's the symbolism with that. The Gnostic demiurge is finally exposed as nothing. It's the little man. And again, this is more of a knock on the Abrahamic faiths, which was part of the modus operandi of Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy movement. And of course, and then Dorothy gets there and then has her gnosis, receives gnosis, has the revelation, which for her is there's no place like home, and eventually returns back home, only no one understands her. No one understands her epiphany. She's better off. It returns to the black and white world. Everyone kind of makes fun of her, doesn't understand her adventure. But she knows she's better off and she's much wiser because of this Gnostic revelation. There are some other very unique clues that Baum gives to this. For example, and you'll find this in the movie, the witch, the two witches. It's two witches in the book. It's only one in the movie. The witch who is the white magician who uses the white Kabbalistic magic has the pentagram on her wand with the 1 point up, 2 points down. That's white magic. If you reverse it with the 2 points up and the 1 point down, that's the Goat of Mendes. That's left-hand path. So, of course, Glinda has the wand with the 1 point up and the 2 points down, denoting her as a white magician. There's two witches in the book. There's only one in the movie. The positive witches, the witches who use the white magic, are of the north and south. This is intentionally done. This symbolizes ascension on the ladder of gnosis. You go up and down, you move vertically to receive gnosis, or, up the ladder or down the ladder to receive wisdom. You don't move left or right. That's stagnation. Hence the two women who are the evil women who use the black magic. They're of the east and west, symbolizing stagnation, symbolizing, anti-gnosis, ignorance. You don't receive gnosis by moving left and right. You only receive it by going up the ladder, up the symbolic staircase. Hence the two positive women are north and south. The two evil women, horizontal, are east and west. That's very clever of L. Frank Baum. You have this whole idea of initiation into the Gnostic mysteries, initiation into the initiatic experience, into the mystery tradition going on in The Wizard of Oz. If you want to look at this and find this in other movies,
well, let me jump in. Let me jump in really quick. The influence of Madame Blavatsky cannot be ignored here. The Theosophy movement, if this sounds complicated in a film like The Wizard of Oz, and could it be possible, she was so influential, and Theosophy was, and especially for the members, was very, very strong. And to have all of this in The Wizard of Oz only makes sense, and her influence just cannot be ignored.
Oh, no doubt about it. Oh, I totally agree with you, Jimmy. We could turn to another movie real quick. I don't disagree with anything you said. L. Frank Baum and his wife were both members of Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy movement. So, this influence is there, no question about it. just so the listeners are aware, Blavatsky was operating in the 19th century. So this was a popular movement in the mid to late 19th century. I mean, it's who's doing what when. The timeline is 100% correct when Baum joined, and ties into when the Wizard of Oz novel was written. And of course, the movie comes 40 some years later. So no, this is definitely there. This is definitely happening. No question about it. If you want to see, I'll get into this. I know you said you wanted me to go on with this, but if you want to see this again, if you want to see initiation into the Gnostic mysteries or a person receiving gnosis, it's Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, who's also into the occult. It's the same story. And then if you want to plow ahead to modern times, it's the movie written by Alice Sebold, directed by Peter Jackson, The Lovely Bones, where the girl dies and her magical land is the afterlife, which she has to navigate to receive gnosis, to learn to let go of the material world. This is also a very Gnostic movie. The Lovely Bones, this is something I dissect in Cinema Symbolism. If you want to see the Blavatsky influence in movies and in novels, it's Dracula. I mean, that's exactly who and what Dracula is representing. I mean, I know on one level he's Vlad the Impaler, this legendary figure, but the entire Dracula story by Bram Stoker, who himself was a secret society man. Stoker was in a group called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn.
Yep.
Other prominent figures of this were Aleister Crowley, MacGregor Mathers, W.B. Yeats, Dion Fortune. The Dracula story is the underlying occult symbolism or theme with Dracula is it's Eastern mysticism treading on or trying to corrupt Victorian Christianity. And Dracula is actually a breathing version of Blavatskyan theosophy intruding on Victorian Christianity. That's the entire underlying theme of Dracula. I mean, you have Dracula coming to England on a ship called the Demeter. That's a goddess, a pagan goddess that was sacred to the Eleusinian mysteries. This is Eastern mysticism. And of course, when Dracula finally arrives, who's the first person he attacks? Lucy Westerna, the Western woman. So if you want to see Blavatsky and theosophy as an underpinning, as a very deeply esoteric occult underpinning, it's Dracula by Bram Stoker. The entire Dracula story is Blavatsky's theosophy attacking Victorian Christianity.
And what about one of my favorite films that I have watched? It's got to be 50 times, if not more, which is The Fifth Element. Because in The Fifth Element, you've got a police state, you've got shape-shifting wizards, you've got Nibiru, you've got enough Egyptian sun pyramid occult images, to last you the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And you've also got the Masons there believing in a supreme being, too. You don't have to squint your eyes at The Fifth Element. If you're looking for symbolism in cinema, go watch that. You get it all in spades.
Oh no, I do a whole breakdown on The Fifth Element. We could do a whole show on that.
Well, let's do it.
There's so much going on in that thing. I mean, you have the whole idea with the Egyptian wisdom, the sacred temple. You have this whole idea of the Masonic. It's Masonic-like. It's not necessarily Masonry, but you have this whole idea of the secret society, the secret order, passing down this valuable information for generations.
Yep.
No question about it. I mean, my God, you have. There's such, you have the whole idea of the sacred feminine, which is a Gnostic theme of the sacred feminine, Lilu, the female goddess figure, saving mankind, unifying with the masculine, who is Bruce Willis. There is some great play on names in this movie. His name is Dallas Corbin. The Ruby Rod character, who is the god Pan, who runs around with the microphone instead of the harp.
Yeah,
has
Chris
the
Tucker.
The horn pointed out of his head, who's always trying to seduce the nymphs or the stewardesses. He is constantly calling Dallas Corbin demon. is he calling him D-Man, but he's actually saying demon. And this ties into the Gnostic idea of a spiritual god, a guide called a daemon or a demon. And of course, he's the one who guides the sacred feminine to the temple to save mankind from the impending evil. This is where the blue pill comes from in the Matrix. When Dallas Corbin and they go to Flauston Paradise on the spaceship, the stewardesses who are all in the blue costumes put them to sleep. The color blue puts you to sleep. This comes from, this turns up 2 years later or a few years later in the Matrix, where if you want to stay asleep, you take the blue pill. You want to wake up and find out what the hell is going on, you take the red pill. This comes from The Fifth Element. The stewardesses in blue put you to sleep. This, in turn, comes from a movie that came out in the early 1980s called Saturn III, where when you're in outer space and you want to doze off and you want to trip out and you just want to knock yourself out, you take a pill called a blue dreamer. So the whole blue putting you to sleep is in The Fifth Element, coming out of Saturn III. It turns up also in The Matrix. Fifth Element is a great movie. I dissect it fully in Cinema Symbolism, but that's some of the esoterica. But no, yeah, you're right, absolutely, 100%. Tons going on inside Fifth Element. I have a whole section on it in the book.
Yeah, and then the Nibiru element too, as well. If you are a fan of not only the Fringe, but just collecting intelligence and knowledge in what we do, you and I and our audience, go and watch The Fifth Element. You just watch it from the beginning to the end. You get a taste of about everything. And the Nibiru part of it is absolutely bizarre. And the Sun Pyramid and the Egyptian references, and it starts off that way in the movie. That's how it starts off, with the temple. That's
right.
The beginning.
That's right. And then you have what's also interesting is what I really like they did is when the evil's approaching, and the sacred feminine finally stops the evil. It turns into a moon. It turns into the satellite. It turns into a second moon. So the implication is that this is how the first moon got there. And of course, the moon is the symbol of the sacred feminine, is the symbol of the female. So the female fights the evil and turns it into the ultimate emblem of the sacred feminine, the moon. God, Diana, Artemis, whatever goddess you want to insert in there.
And now let's jump into. We got to talk about Stanley. Stanley Kubrick. He may be the very, very best at this. Was he a Freemason?
Not to my knowledge. He was not a Freemason.
Before we move on with Kubrick, can you give me a quick list of the famous directors that were Freemasons, verifiable?
Oh, I could not right now. I'd have to pull out a book or go into a computer and look that up. Off the top of my head, I could give you some actors, but directors, no, I don't. None come to mind right now.
So I was, I'm just, thinking down the list. Kubrick. Now I'm brain freezing. I just had everything on the Steven Spielberg. Any of the big cats or any of them.
No, but you don't have to be I should point out, you don't have to be a Freemason to be aware of this material, and not all of it is necessarily Masonic per se. Some of it is, I know that there are directors, especially in the Golden Age, who were Masons, but their names escape me right now. But like Lucas, Zemeckis, Spielberg, Kubrick, Aronofsky, they are not Masons to my knowledge, but they are very well versed with this material. But that you don't have to be a Mason to necessarily be aware of this. Queen Victoria, the 19th century English monarch, called herself the patroness of the craft, and was very interested in Freemasonry, but naturally never joined.
What about the director of Nicolas Cage, Treasure?
The National Treasure movie.
Yeah, National Treasure.
I don't know who directed it, but if you asked me to list out the top 5 Masonic movies of all time, National Treasure would be number 1. That movie is a Masonic ritual from start to finish. It's the Royal Arch ritual. I dissect this movie in the first book I wrote, The Royal Arch of Enoch. Just briefly, The Royal Arch of Enoch ceremonial, which is part of the high degree system, is the recovery of this Masonic treasure, this Knight Templar Masonic treasure beneath the Holy Ground, in a subterranean vault beneath the Holy Ground in Jerusalem. I mean, and that's exactly the National Treasure movie. It's the restoration or recovery of the treasure of Freemasonry beneath the Holy Ground, only in New York City, which is without question a reference to DeWitt Clinton and the Royal Arch Masons, and of course in a subterranean vault beneath the Holy Ground. So if you want to watch a Masonic ritual on the big screen, look no further than the first National Treasure movie. The second National Treasure movie is decidedly Masonic as well. And of course in the first National Treasure you got the little Masonic clues. Some of them revolve around the sun. That's not surprising. You know, the sun is the most important symbol within Freemasonry. The second National Treasure movie has similar themes in this as well. There's a point where the underlying philosophy with this Royal Arch of Enoch ceremonial is the restoration of all antediluvian wisdom. So you'll see often, and it's the 13th ritual. It's the 13th degree in the Scottish Rite. It's the 7th degree in the York Rite. It comes out of the Rite of Perfection, where it was originally the 13th degree. You'll find in movies, especially Da Vinci Code and National Treasure 2, whenever wisdom or knowledge is needed, the number 13 comes up. This is especially true in National Treasure 2. All the information, all the occult information about the Resolute desk is kept in chapter 13 of Riley's book. That's no coincidence. The number 13 turns up all over the damn place in the Da Vinci Code movie, especially when clues or wisdom is needed. And again, this is echoing this Royal Arch of Enoch ceremonial. For example, in the Da Vinci Code, the clue is left on the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is kept in Hall 13 in the Louvre. So again, this is very Masonic, very Royal Arch. These are movies I took on inside Royal Arch of Enoch in the final chapter. But yeah, I mean, if you ask me to list like my top 5 Masonic movies of all time, National Treasure 1 would be up there, National Treasure 2. National Treasure 1 is a Masonic ritual. Other movies that would be up there, The Ninth Gate with Johnny Depp has some very veiled Masonic high-degree symbolism going on in it. The Man Who Would Be King with Michael Caine and Sean Connery is Masonic. This is very Masonic. This is this is no state secret. Rudyard Kipling, the guy who wrote it, was a Freemason. This ties into the whole idea. Go back in time. This is a movie that came out in the 1970s. This ties into the idea of a royal bloodline going back to Alexander the Great, being inherited by the Freemasons, and is ultimately extraterrestrial in nature. The god of the Masons, it has one eye, and it's, of course, the all-seeing eye. This movie, The Man Who Would Be King, with Sean Connery and Michael Caine, was remade in 1994 into a movie called Stargate, with James Spader and Kirk Douglas. Stargate is a all but frame-by-frame remake, only set in the world of science fiction, of The Man Who Would Be King. It's interesting we talk about these because these are 2 movies that I'm actually writing about in Cinema Symbolism 2, which is the book I'm working on right now. But those are decidedly Masonic movies.
I had met Turtle Taub and hung out with him in 2005, right after he shot, right after it was released. And he was my age. That's the best way that I could, but I considered him young and hip. And I should have, through that, I hung out with him for about I didn't hang out, we sort of worked together for about a year, and I never cornered him. I should have just said, dude, what's going on here? Are you a Mason? Are you not a Mason? Are you a fan of the genre? Where are you getting this information from? Because it's all there. I just thought it was a cool movie. I saw the symbolism. I saw the symbolism, but I didn't. It's funny that when you're around a guy like that, you're talking about other things. We were talking about music, or we were talking about whatever. And I didn't. I had the opportunity, and I didn't take it. With that, I've got to take a break. Let's do that. And we managed to, and this is why I love having you on the show. We went right around Stanley Kubrick and ended up somehow on John Turtle Taub. but which we can discuss when we come back after the break. But we've got to jump into Kubrick. There is a lot there to discuss. Tonight, Robert Sullivan IV is our guest. Hollywood and its symbolism is the subject. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Robert right after this. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Why do people order Life Change Tea? Because Life Change Tea helps the digestive system. Life Change Tea helps the colon unclog. The tea also helps with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and many, many other health issues. Life Change Tea also tastes great. And Life Change Tea is not just green tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs that go to town, cleaning your body of harmful toxins, bacteria, and parasites. Our tea is number 1. Are you ready for your life change? Let the tea help you. Log on to our online store of helpful products to get your body on track. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Not all tea is equal. Read our website of all the factual testimonies that prove that Life Change Tea is working. Health is important, and our quality of life is very important. Don't wait to order. Expect a life change with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood, not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high-quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
This is TalkNetwork.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is Robert Sullivan IV. We're talking about symbolism here in Hollywood, where we are broadcasting from, which is Burbank, California. Tomorrow night is Open Lines right here on KGRA The Planet and TalkNetwork.com. Robert, I got a couple of questions that are popping up here that have been sent in, and one of them is, Jimmy, please ask Mr. Sullivan about the movie Knowing with Nicolas Cage being predictive of the Deepwater Horizon disaster.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with this to an extent. It apparently predicts the Gulf oil spill, I want to say. That's interesting. That's an interesting movie because that movie does. It's been a while since I've seen it. It's one on my to-do watch list. But there is I believe, predictive of the Gulf oil spill. But there is some esoterica going on in that movie as well. Revolving. I mean, you have some of the names of the characters are suggestive of sun and moon gods. I can't recall off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that movie does have material in it. It's on my to watch list. But I am familiar with that film.
And why are they recycling these images? Why do we see them over and over again? Who is it all intended for? Is it meant to be subliminal? Is it meant to be an allegiance to an organization like the Illuminati, and they're trying to show their allegiance? No, I don't think that. I think it's a lot of it's powerful mythology. Is what it strikes me as. It's powerful symbolism. It's powerful mythology. Some of the stories do repeat. If you break down the work. I mean, this is something else I do in the book. If you get into the works of like Joseph Campbell, and you get into this whole idea of the monomyth, right?
This repeats. With the first Star Wars movie, with Neo in the Matrix, with Harry Potter, with Frodo Baggins.
Any successful story is going to be, following that Joseph Campbell checklist. I mean,
to an extent, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, to an extent, absolutely. You'll find elements of this thing, by and large, in a lot of the major blockbusters, especially the ones, that I just named, the Star Wars, the Harry Potter, the Matrix, Lord of the Rings, the solarized savior figure is what I call it.
Yeah, there would have been no Star Wars if it wasn't for Joseph Campbell.
No doubt about that. No doubt.
Now let's get into Stanley a little bit and or a lot. The for me and the works of Jay Widener on this and others, but Jay is just really, really good at this. Stanley, I had said in the intro, and I mean this, and he was a perfectionist at framing, at intent. Everything on the set, the clothes, the objects, everything was done with intent. There was nothing that was a mistake in a Stanley Kubrick film. And you go back and you look at the symbolism, it's just like, holy crap. Was he trying to make a movie, or was he just simply trying to tell us something else with another message?
Yeah, I mean, the Stanley Kubrick material is great. I'm not sure I'm willing to I'm not sure I'm willing to buy into the whole Apollo moon landing thing. I'm familiar with that, but The Shining has some great symbolism in it. That movie is what I call. This is a movie I mentioned in Cinema Symbolism. I really am breaking it down in Cinema Symbolism too. That movie is just is what I call. It's repetition. The portion of the thing in the book is transcendental repetition in the Overlook Hotel is what I'm calling the chapter. Because all that movie is just repeating the same thing. I mean, just repeating numbers and it's just an endless cycle of repetition in The Shining. And what Kubrick is doing that for, you get into motivation. He is doing that intentionally to symbolize to both your conscious and your subconscious mind this endless reincarnation cycle going on inside the Overlook Hotel that's never ending. So to symbolize this, he's just endlessly repeating things to you over and over and over again in The Shining. And it's never ending. I mean, I could get into this if you'd like me to.
Yeah, let's do it. And you're right about you're right about one thing. It is a cycle. It's a catch-22 because it starts and it ends with a reincarnation theme. That's it. And it starts with the interview because he talks about the previous caretaker killing his family, and now he's there. And in the end of the movie, you see his picture, and the it is a cycle. So I totally agree. But if you go and you look at the Apollo 11 moon hoax stuff that is out there, and I think it's very strong, and you go back and you watch and have your notes with you, and you go back and watch it again, that symbolism, that interview sequence with the 11 in the background and the eagle on the desk and the conversation and the things that are going on there, all I see is Apollo 11. And, of course, Danny with his sweater with the with the Apollo 11 rocket on it is pretty strong as well.
Yeah, you have that whole idea. I'm not sure if I'm willing to buy into that. You have within The Shining also a very deep alchemical storyline, and part of that ties into the sun, so that could provide explanation to the Apollo sweater, Apollo being the sun god, where you have Jack Torrance he actually goes through alchemical transition. He starts off at the movie as a failed writer and husband, and by the end of the movie, he's a psychopath. And there is a very deep, very well hidden alchemical. It doesn't have anything to do with transmuting base metal to gold, but it's a very alchemical storyline going on inside that movie. But what I really am impressed with within The Shining is just the level of repetition and how he repeats numbers and emblems on the screen just over. Characters even say things back to each other. She stood when he meets the two little girls, and of course there's two of them. And again, there's doubles all over the place in this movie. Torrance writes with two typewriters. There's two tennis balls. Numbers repeat all over the place. Danny and Wendy take 12 turns in the hedge maze. He throws the tennis ball against the wall 12 times. He hits the door with the axe 12 times. There's an endless cycle of repetition of numbers inside The Shining. And then you get into the whole idea of the Overlook Hotel with the Eagle and the Apollo 11. The entire Overlook Hotel is sort of what I call the dark side of America. You have Ullman tells him, only the best people come here. It's opulent. It's built, and of course, it's built on the American, Indians. It's built on an Indian grave site. So you have this whole idea of the Overlook representing the opulent United States, being built on the Indian burial site. It's the dark side of America. All the ghosts in it are opulent, decadent. They're all Caucasian. Again, with dualism, and the number two, there's only two African Americans in the movie, the Scatman Crothers character and the other guy who runs the auto repair shop. And you have the Overlook as this dark side of America, and even, with the weapons of choice, you have the baseball bat being the American pastime, and then, of course, the tomahawk hatchet, the Torrance wheels as the American Indian, and where do we start with The Shining, with repetition? It starts off on a road called Going to the Sun Road, and this is an alchemical symbol, and he passes 4 cars. 2 of them are stationary, 2 of them are mobile. Again, this is the number 2. 2 typewriters, 2 boilers, 2 girls. It's the 2 little twins. What's interesting is when Danny sees the twins in the game room for the first time, Ullman is coming up the steps. He says, "Have a nice vacation, girls," and it's 2 older twin women leaving in front of Allman.
Oh,
so
I forgot about that. You're right about that.
The Shining. The little boy at the beginning of Shelley Duvall. They wear the red, white, and blue, the American flag, the Overlook Hotel. Allman's in the red, white, and blue. When Shelley Duvall and the little kid are about to go into the hedge maze, there's a trash can there with the American flag on it, saying we got to keep America clean. The hotel is the United States America, being, it's the dark side of America being built on the Indian burial ground.
Well, what
Getting
about
back to repetition?
What about her reading The Catcher in the Rye?
Well, I didn't particularly see any symbolism per se with that. It's a book by J.D. Salinger.
There's got to be something too. There has to be. I've heard different ideas with that, but clearly Kubrick placed that book in her hand for a reason.
Well, there's also a book that sits on the shelf next to the psychiatrist, the doctor, who comes in to see Danny, and it's interesting because I forget the name of the book, but it's the author had written another book about labyrinths, or has the name Labyrinth in the title, and of course you got the hedge maze being the exterior labyrinth, and then you've got the the hotel itself is a labyrinth. You have two labyrinths in the movie, the hotel and then the natural labyrinth outside, which sort of serves as this talisman for the little boy. It saves his life in the end. And then the one thing that's great is with Shelley Duvall at the very beginning, when this is a great one, when she's always being bossed around and is kind of out of it and being preyed upon by Jack Norris and is pretty much weak and kind of like stupid almost. I'm not saying that to be mean-spirited, but that's the way the character's presented.
That's right.
If you pay attention to this, the Shelley Duvall character at the beginning, the little red, white, and blue outfit she's wearing, inside Danny's bedroom is a statue, a marionette on the wall of Goofy, the Disney character, dressed in the exact same costume she is wearing, even down to her yellow shoes. So you have Goofy as Shelley Duvall, basically, and I guess that's Kubrick's way of saying to you, this woman is Goofy. She's married to this psychopathic husband. I thought that was a great little thing that Kubrick does. But no, you're right. I mean, Kubrick is very pedantic with this stuff. I mean, the Catcher in the Rye book is obviously there. I'm familiar with the book. I've read it in high school. I don't know if Kubrick intended, I think he intended it. I don't know if it has any esoteric meaning to it. I could tell you some things to do is the little boy, we get into repetition again. The little boy's sweater at the beginning has the number 42 in it. This repeats over and over again. The movie that they're watching, that Shelley Duvall and the little boy are watching in the hotel is The Summer of 42. That was one of Kubrick's favorite movies. On Scatman Crothers' license plate, when he's coming back to the Overlook, you'll see the number 42 on his license plate. So again, this is emblematic of this repetition, this never-ending cycle going on inside the Overlook. I love it. But another thing that he does that he really wreaks havoc with the number 2 is when Torrance goes back in time to the ball, which is the New Year's Eve celebration. Before the fish and goose soiree, you have the Meet Me at Midnight, the New Year's Eve theme music playing, and this is the same music that's playing at the end of the movie when you see the photograph,
right,
which is the 4th of July. This is the winter solstice, the summer solstice playing off of each other. Kubrick wreaks havoc with you with the weather in this movie, with the couple arriving on Halloween. This is the death of the sun, exaltation of darkness. William Friedkin does this exact same trick years earlier in The Exorcist, with the trick-or-treaters accosting Chris McNeil, coming back from the shoot. They're showing you that it's Halloween, and that, this is when darkness could come out to play. That's death of the sun, exaltation of the winter months, no sunlight, darkness, ghosts come out. And of course, we know that the Torrances arrive on Halloween because Allman tells them that the hotel is closed, or its operating time is from mid-May to October 30th. That date is thrown out intentionally. That means the Torrances are arriving on Halloween. Great use of symbolism with the weather there and the time of year to symbolize the death of the sun, winter, and all the ghosts come out to play. Again, Friedkin used this exact same trick years earlier in The Exorcist. Kubrick is a master of this. The Shining is a movie that I took on in Cinema Symbolism, but I'm dissecting it much more in Cinema Symbolism 2, of course, with Eyes Wide Shut, which I call Kubrick's illuministic impulse. And again, if you want to see the Illuminati in film, that's another good one to see it in, is Eyes Wide Shut. Some very interesting cinema going on inside of Eyes Wide Shut, no question about it.
And there's 2 other things that we didn't touch. No, there's 3, and then I want to move on from The Shining. When they were watching The Summer of 42, the TV doesn't have a plug or a cable. It's sitting there by itself and running. Again, intentional. I don't know why. There's a message there. Also, the room 237 and what those numbers mean. I've got many different ideas. And the third, and I don't think you mentioned this, but I think it's important to note here, is that Jack Torrance, they shut the hotel down on the night before Halloween, and they move in on Halloween night. And I thought that was a very interesting date of choice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing with Halloween is the idea of Halloween, the celebration of Samhain, is the halfway point between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. Of course, the winter solstice, which just happened, is the shortest day of the year. So from Halloween on, it's the decrease of daylight. And, of course, it's the darkness, quite literally. There's no daylight, and it's always dark all the time. And, of course, what associates with darkness? Evil, malignancy, ghosts. And, of course, this is what's giving the ghosts the license to come out to play. It's a play on the weather. William Friedkin does this exact same trick in The Exorcist. When Chris McNeil's walking home, she gets accosted by the trick-or-treaters. I mean, they don't flash October 31st up on the screen, but this is Friedkin's way of showing you subliminally and subconsciously that it's Halloween and that it's the death of the sun, it's the death of the light. Comparatively, it's the death of horse, it's the death of Jesus. Hence, darkness and ghosts and demons can come out to play. Hence, Georgetown and the girl and the home get invaded by the demon. Same thing with the Overlook. It gets invaded by the ghosts. They all come out to play. 237. If you add the numbers 237 up, you get the number 12, which repeats. If you multiply them, you get the number 42, which is, again, repetition. If you want to go into the whole moon landing thing, which, again, I'm not fully convinced of.
237,000 miles to the moon.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. It's the distance from the Earth to the moon. So the little boy with the Apollo 11 rocket is standing up and going to the moon, basically, by going into room 237. But if you add up and multiply those numbers, you'll find the number 12 and the number 42, which repeat all over the place. I mean, even the hotel is KDK12, again, repetition. So I have to go back and watch it to see if the television isn't plugged in. That's odd. I never noticed that. I have The Shining here on Blu-ray, so tomorrow morning I'll definitely throw that on and check that out. That sounds interesting.
I watch The Shining about once a week, just to let you know. I go and I study it. 2001 as well. I watch them constantly. And I'm always learning something new. There's just little things in each, and that's what you have to do. Sure. You have to commit. Now, I want to and I'm going to get you to hang on after this past break. I'm having too much fun, and we've got other stuff that we need to touch upon. And now, I want to talk about the Illuminati. And it cannot be ignored today. For some reason, it's there. I don't know what the reasons are. I don't know what the connection is. But certainly in music videos today, you see it. You see it in television commercials. It's intentional. You certainly see it in movies over and over again. Whether it is a direct reference or somebody saying the Illuminati or singing about it, or glorifying it, or it's on the background, it's on a wall, or it's on a shirt. It is there, and it is constant, and you can nearly find it in every single Hollywood production that is out today. What is going on, Robert?
Well, I mean, the Bavarian Illuminati, which was a real group, but from what my understanding of this is out of business. I mean, I don't believe there's a modern day Illuminati or anything like that. I imagine that it's a popular subject matter. It seems to be more so today than ever. I mean, it's definitely it's definitely a popular subject matter. I don't question that. I have a whole chapter on it in the new Cinema Symbolism book. I talk about it in The Royal Arch of Enoch. The historical Illuminati. I'm very, very well versed in. They seem to have gone out of business. They definitely tie into Freemasonry, no question about it. You will see illuministic influences upon the United States, especially in the early days. And again, this is coming in, to the Royal Arch Masons through DeWitt Clinton is really, your biggest illuministic impulse, or influence is a better word, in the United States. Like I said, I've been in Freemasonry for 20 years. I've never been exposed to any sort of modern day Illuminati group. I would be highly skeptical of this. If to my knowledge, this doesn't exist anymore. I know it's very popular, and putting these emblems into movies. I mean, I would craft an argument in some of these cases. This is being done for sensationalist purposes. Nothing more than that. In some instances, perhaps not all. But I mean, I know it's a very popular subject matter. I get asked about it all the time. I talk about it in the Royal Arch of Enoch book, probably more than Cinema Symbolism. I do have a chapter in Cinema Symbolism too, I called The Illuminati in Film, which, for me, if you really, I'm not talking about like seeing little Illuminati, eye in the triangle symbol, which is really more Masonic than Illuminati. But, I guess if you wanted me to list out some Illuminati movies, I mean, the Kubrick Eyes Wide Shut movie comes to mind. The Lara Croft Tomb Raider movie, where they're mentioned by name.
And that strong, strong.
That has some very Illuminati influence in it. And then there's three movies. If you take them together, they're very they all present the Illuminati in certain facets. Where you have the three really kind of movies that are Illuminati that tie together are Angels and Demons, which presents the Illuminati, the anti-Catholic, the anti-religious sentiment of the Illuminati. Then you have They Live, which is the mind-controlling manipulation, dumbing down the, population, version of the Illuminati. And then you have the X-Files movie, the Fight the Future, where you have the Bilderberg-type Illuminati group who is working with all the governments to keep the secrets of the alien invasion and the alien virus secret and, manipulating the governments. So if you look at those last three movies, I mean, they really present all three facets of the Illuminati on screen, the mind control, the manipulation, and the anti-church sentiment. But if you look at like the Kubrick movie Eyes Wide Shut, I mean, that's very illuministic. In fact, that's what I'm calling the portion on it. It's Kubrick's Illuministic Impulse, Eyes Wide Shut. The Lara Croft Tomb Raider movie is interesting. You have the Illuminati mentioned by name. You have the guy who is in the Illuminati. But if you pay attention to this movie, you're going to find a lot of references to the sun and solar references within Lara Croft Tomb Raider. And, of course, this is what the historical Illuminati was based upon. It's sort of neo-Manichaeanism. The entire order, Weishaupt's Illuminati was based on solar hierarchies. He was modeling it after the Society of Jesus. In fact, you could craft the argument, and I think it's a safe bet, that the Illuminati was nothing more than the Jesuits under another name. The Jesuits had been suppressed 2 years earlier for their occult monkey shines and political meddlings. And then, boom, you have the Weishaupt-trained Illuminati appearing on the history pages. So, the historical Illuminati of Adam Spartacus Weishaupt, really, to me, if you break it down, was just a Jesuit counter-Reformation ruse. They were the masters of this. But no, just to wrap up, the Illuminati in cinema is very popular, and you can definitely find Illuminati references in movies, and so much so that I'm dedicating a whole chapter to it in Cinema Symbolism too.
And what about Prometheus? Strong Illuminati.
Unfortunately, you've hit on a movie I haven't seen. So I can't talk about that one.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be fair and balanced. I want to talk about a movie. I get asked about Prometheus all the time, and the other one I get asked about I haven't seen, so I just break it down as Interstellar.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen that yet, but I've been told there's a lot going on in that.
And the mentions about in television series today, like the new whoa, you got to help me. Our favorite show that we're watching now, and it involves it's about the Cabal. Honey, text me. What's our favorite series right now? Oh man. Oh no!
I don't know. I may not have seen it though. I may not have seen it.
I've got to watch. I got to watch my text come in. She's gonna hit me with this in a second. But there's mentions of the Cabal, so much so now that I think it's starting to influence society in general. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to discuss the cabal when it's on, national TV and networks, and it's something that is spoken about. It's the new James Spader series. Oh, somebody's.
I haven't seen that. The one. What's that called? I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
I'm waiting. Black. Oh man. See,
what's that show called?
This is bad radio. We can't do this. We can't do this and sit here and question. But it's funny to me how these fringe things that people would never talk about before are now it's a mainline subject, and it's fascinating to me. And
absolutely.
The blacklist.
It goes back to
the blacklist, and
that's it.
Yeah, the blacklist, and it's just about the cabal running the world. All the way from Washington D.C. overseas, and that. But it's what the series is about, and I find that fascinating to me for somebody that is uninitiated into what the Illuminati is or the cabal is, and they go and they see this. It's a message that they're trying to send. It's not a mistake. It's not an accident.
Oh, I agree with you. I don't think it's an accident, but I don't know if there's like a hidden Illuminati group behind it. I think it may be just used as like a plot device. It's well known. The Illuminati. Look no further than. You want to see this really. You really want to see this. Go to Being There with Peter Sellers, where you have the guy Rand, who is the global manipulator. The president meets with him, and when he dies, the guys are talking over his coffin, who are we going to select as the next president as they put him into the Masonic crypt, which is the pyramid with the all-seeing eye over it.
Yeah.
There it is.
Absolutely.
There it is.
Absolutely. When we come back, I want to talk E.T. in cinema. Our guest tonight is Robert Sullivan IV, Hollywood Symbolism. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be back with Robert Sullivan IV right after this. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hi, folks. Ray Sobbs here with KGRA to tell you about something very special taking place in February 2016. I'm talking about the Space and Alien Snowfest Ufology Conference taking place at the beautiful ski and snowboard resort city of Big Bear Lake in sunny Southern California. We've got Richard Dolan, Chase Kletzky, Micah Hanks, Jason Martell, Jimmy Church, Linda Moulton Howe, Mike Barra, and keynote speaker Stanton Friedman will be presented a Lifetime Achievement Award. George Norrie and his producer Tom Danheiser from Coast to Coast AM Live will be with us all weekend. After the hectic holidays, gift yourself a retreat on top of the world the first weekend in February 2016 with a one-of-a-kind ufology event featuring some of the top minds in the field. Take advantage and book your lodging early and get your tickets now and register at aliensnowfest.com. I'll be there. Don't miss out.
This is TalkNetwork.com.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for the ultimate Bluetooth speaker system? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. It's just $99. And you use the promo code Jimmy and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. Our guest tonight, Robert Sullivan IV, talking about symbolism in Hollywood. Tomorrow night, open lines all night long. Robert, I said before the break, and I mentioned this in the show intro tonight too as well. If you want to hit film right now, you want to just knock it out of the park and just let it keep on going, write a film, release something about E.T. attacking the Earth. It seems like 9 out of 10 films released today, that's exactly what it is about. What is the message there? Is it disclosure? Does Hollywood know something that we don't know? Is this the CIA or maybe somebody in Washington influencing what goes on here, which has happened in the past? That's not a secret. Why all of the E.T. films?
Well, you can look at it a couple ways. There has been things leaked through movies intentionally. And you get into like space alien movies, just real quick, the one Transformer movie, the second one I think it was, where they had the Transformers fighting on top of the Giza pyramids. This was the unveiling of the railgun by John Turturro. He calls up the Navy and they unveil the railgun, which comes up out of the deck, and they fire this electromagnetic pulse at the two fighting Transformers. And this was intentionally done. It was a couple months later, a month or so later, the Navy came forward and said, "Yes, we've developed a railgun. Here it is." And we released it through the movie intentionally. So you're absolutely right. That this has happened. You get into this whole the whole. It goes back to the 1950s, and there's several ways to look at this. Is the whole alien invasion? This walks hand in hand with the development of nuclear weapons. And it comes out of movies in the 1950s. I talk about it in the book. It's something that I like talking about. Is a lot of times the alien invader or the alien invasion. It's a representation of communism. It's the red threat intruding upon Eisenhower's saccharine America of the 1950s. It walks hand in hand with the bug movie, the mutation movie, where the nuclear weapons are being developed, and there's always these side effects that, the giant bug, the giant praying mantis, the giant tarantula, that's terrorizing the countryside as a result of the nuclear weapons that are being developed to fight the communists. Then you have the aliens coming down, which, are the communists. And you look at like The Day the Earth Stood Still, where it's an admonition, hey, you better adopt our socialist ways or we're going to destroy you. It's always the same thing. It's this peace-loving alien that comes down that wants to stop the Earthlings, who all they want to do is pollute the environment, engage in tribal warfare. And you better start acting like us. We live in the socialist utopia, or else we're going to destroy you. This, of course, is taken to another level. This is the Day the Earth Stood Still. But then you get into the real communist subterfuge with the whole the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is a direct reference to communism and fifth columns, and things are not what they seem, and they're here to take us over, and they're here to destroy America, and they're here to transform us into a communist society. This is the main theme of the symbolic theme of the extraterrestrial movies of the 1950s. And again, walking hand in hand with these is the mutant movie, coming from the development of the nuclear weapons that were being developed at the time, with the giant bugs, the giant crickets, them, which was the giant spiders. And then, of course, you have probably the most famous mutated one of all, Godzilla. And all he wants to do is attack Japan, which is, of course, a metaphor for the nuclear bombing of Japan during World War II. I mean, Godzilla just has this penchant for destroying Tokyo for some reason. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. He just wants to take out Japan, which is a metaphor for the atomic bombings during World War II. So with the space alien movie of the 1950s, it's this whole underlying theme of communist invasion, the Cold War, which was in its full effect by then, and then linked to that is the science fiction also of the development of the weapons, which is the nuclear reaction, which is the giant bug movie of the 1950s.
Well, and I look at some of the recent stuff, certainly Independence Day, and we've got Independence Day Part 2 that's about to come out. We have the new version of The Day the Earth Stood Still. We have the new version of War of the Worlds with Spielberg. We have, you referenced Knowing, the movie Signs. I could go on, Battle Los Angeles. I could go on and on and on about this, and I think the symbolism there is very, very strong. And I don't know if the directors of the movies know something that we don't. Certainly Spielberg, is he connected, in some way to the CIA and the Pentagon, and they're feeding him information? I don't know. But it seems like they run along the same exact theme. And you can even throw in Men in Black 1, 2, and 3 if you want.
Yeah, I mean, the evolution of the science fiction, it's the alien invasion. I mean, this is what the alien invasion movie really starts in the 1950s, and it's an emblem, it's a metaphor for the Red Menace, is what it is. But then, of course, as the Cold War progresses and eventually ends, the science fiction is strong. So we have these movies that, it's the alien invasion, of course, Independence Day, obviously, and Independence Day 2, which is coming, and some of the other movies. I mean, obviously, this is post-Cold War, per se, so it's not necessarily referencing the Cold War or the Red Menace anymore, but it's still a popular genre. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, are these movies anticipating an alien invasion? I don't know. It hasn't happened yet. But you certainly can craft an argument. I mean, you go back to Roswell and things like that. I mean, that's always popular subject matter. I mean, not movies aside. I mean, television shows, conspiracy. These are popular subject matters anyway. So to see them turning up on the X-Files or Star Trek or Independence Day, or these Men in Black. It's a popular genre, but I like the movies. I do like alien invasion movies, they definitely grow out of this theme from the 1950s, where the alien invader is emblematic of the communist menace to the United States of America.
I got this. This is from one of our producers here, Renee, and I want to read this to you really quick. She says, "It seems to me that much of the public pushback against Freemasonry might have been due to what many Americans would perceive as unfair advantage job-wise. That is, the Masons' ability to recognize one another and thus to offer them employment or opportunities or other material advancement based on their own esoteric knowledge that had nothing to do with their experience or abilities or commerce being transacted. These types of connections would eliminate more qualified applicants, something that many people might consider an un-American thing to do. Could you please comment on this?"
Doesn't exist. I mean, It just doesn't exist. I mean, that's all I have to say. I mean, it maybe did years ago, but in modern time, I mean, I've been a Mason for 20 years, and I have never received any career advancement out of it. I don't know anyone in Masonry who has. So my reaction is it just doesn't exist.
Wow, that's interesting. I always thought that was one of the reasons why you joined the Freemasons, to to work with other businessmen in the area that were Freemasons, and you guys worked together, and that was part of the bonus for becoming a Freemason was just that.
No, I would say, it would be more of wanting to join would be for community involvement or for carrying on like a family tradition. Today, that's probably changed. It's more of the esoteric traditions or anything like, studying the esoteric side of it. But, if you're in a lodge with a guy who runs a bakery, or a bagel shop, I mean, maybe he brings some free bagels to the meeting. I mean, something like that might happen. If you need a reference for a job, perhaps, or a recommendation, something like that certainly is not out of the ordinary. But it wouldn't be anyway. When you have a friend or you're with a group of people. But I mean, I don't know of anyone who has hired somebody because they're a Freemason or not hired them because they're a Freemason. I mean, I just don't think it. I think maybe 150 years ago something like that possibly could have gone on. I mean, maybe. I mean, I can only speak from my experience with it, but maybe it happens in other jurisdictions, other venues. But I have never myself have used. I used the only thing I've used it for is one time I used one of the brothers in my lodge for a reference for something. But again, he was a lawyer also, and it was nothing out of the ordinary or anything like that.
Sure, but you can certainly understand the public's perception like this and to have that view.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I think it's very antiquated. This all died out in the 1820s. I mean, this appeared in 1825. This whole idea of the Masons running the show or favoritism. The tombstone is 1825 when this died out.
Are you going to become a 33rd?
That has to be offered to you. I cannot solicit it. You can only go up to the 32nd. To become the 33rd, you have to be invited to that. I would take it if I was invited, but right now, I haven't been invited, so you can't solicit the 33rd. That has to be bestowed upon you. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, well, that's okay too.
What happens? So you get offered, you take it. What would the difference between 32nd and 33rd be? Do you get the secret knowledge? Do you get the secret book? The secret ring, the key of life. What happens at the 33rd level?
Well, it's really more honorary than anything like that. But since I'm not a part of it, I would be reluctant to say. I would just say this, and there seems to be a mass misperception of this out there. The degrees of Freemasonry are they're numeric, but their importance are not based on their numbers. The degrees are out of order. And a lot of the degrees that come after the Royal Arch of Enoch ceremonial actually take place before it, and this is also true in the York Rite. The 33rd degree is honorary, but if you actually get down to symbolic importance, the most important and highest degree within Freemasonry is the 13th degree in the Scottish Rite and the 7th degree in the York Rite. It's the Royal Arch of Enoch ceremonial. That is the end of the story. And that is probably the most symbolic and important degree outside of the Blue Lodge of Freemasonry. So the degrees that come afterwards, I mean, although they're numerically higher, they're not necessarily higher in importance, if that makes sense.
Is there, when you hit the arch, is there a secret that is revealed to you at that point? Is there something there that makes it worthwhile?
Yeah, it's the recovery of what is lost. in the Blue Lodge. It's what is recovered is in the Blue Lodge degree. The name of God is lost by the Master Mason, by this guy named Hiram Abiff. He possesses the secret word, which is the name of God. It's called the Tetragrammaton. In Masonry, it's not the real name of God. I mean, it's ceremonial. The name is no one believes this is the real name of God. It's just symbolic. It's ceremonial. In the Blue Lodge, in the third degree, the name is lost. In the Royal Arch Ceremonial, the name is recovered. So it's what you have going on. I get into this in the Royal Arch of Enoch book. It's a form of apotheosis. The candidate, by recovering the secret name of God, becomes godlike. And the reason it's the highest degree, and it was really the highest degree in the Thomas Smith Webb system, is because by recovering this name, the candidate that becomes godlike, and then the idea, at least philosophically behind it, is that once this degree is reached and this name is recovered, the candidate then can go out and it's a warrant to be active and participate in society, and to serve the community and to serve society. It's the philosophical underpinnings of it. And you will find, especially in the early days of this country, that in order to be politically effective, and this gets into the conspiracy side of it, the negative connotation of it, is that in order to be, an important Mason, and effectuate the community, you had to be part of the high degree system. Ergo, you had to be part of this secret cabal, this Illuminati cabal, these Royal Arch Masons who only, these are the guys who had the secret knowledge, the secret name of God. You had to be a part of this in order to, effectuate society. Hence, you have this secret group of Masons in Masonry working to change society. I mean, what I'm saying is, this is the crux of anti-Masonry of the 1820s, which eventually gets undone. The William Morgan affair basically undoes this entire gigantic Masonic hidden influence in the country. But the rumors persist to this day. People still want to believe that there is this group of Masons somewhere out there that still pull the strings, and if they're there, I can't find it. But it's a very important degree ritual. In fact, it's the most important within Freemasonry. At least that's part of the thesis of the book, because it's the recovery of what is lost. If you want to see, and again, just real quick, if you want to see this ritual on the big screen, watch National Treasure. That is the Royal Arch of Enoch ritual on the big screen.
Well, you know what's funny, and I respect you for this too as well, is this. You wouldn't be a really good recruiter for Freemasons.
Me?
Yeah. What I mean by that is, Robert, stay with me. Which you're removing the mystique, esoteric, crazy secret order thing, away from it. And I to attract, I think part of the appeal of Freemasons in the past was just that it was a secret order, and that they were the string pullers, and they were the undercurrent of society. They were the movers and shakers, and it's all secret. And when you get here, secrets get revealed to you that will open up your eyes to life and the history of the world and the mystery schools.
I think it does that. It does that. No question about it. It does all that. The rituals conceal many veiled hidden meanings, and it does all that. No one has asked me about the rituals of Freemasonry if they contain hidden meaning. Absolutely, they do.
Okay. Oh man, I have I know some Freemasons, and a couple of them are family members, and one is a 32nd, and I can't get any info out of these guys. These are people that come, that I hang out with. Won't talk.
Well, like, what do you want to know? I mean, if I can answer it, I will. There's certain things I won't talk about, like the passwords and the grips and things like that, because you're not supposed to. The truth be told, you could find this out anyway on the internet. But...
Right. Yeah, I tried all that. I got nowhere.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Did I lose you? Robert, I got you loud and clear, just to let you know. Did I lose you? Interesting. Did I lose?
Yeah, you're coming in and out. I couldn't hear the last bit.
Okay, I've got you loud and clear. What I said was I tried to find out the handshakes and the hugs. I didn't get anywhere. Looks like I've lost you. All right, Robert.
You're fading in and out.
Okay, that's weird because you are strong. Well, we're at the end of the show, so just let me do this really quick. Thank you. It's always enlightening when you're on the show. Really quick, when is Cinema?
I can hear you now. Now I can hear you. Now you're fading in and out.
Okay. When is the next book, Part 2, coming out? Cinema Symbolism. I've lost you. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and wrap. Thank you, Robert. Thank you. We're at the end of the show, and that was kind of a drag. Something going on there at the very end. And now I want to do a quick wrap here, everybody, and that is this: the symbolism that goes on here in Hollywood. When I was reaching back to some of my favorite films, which is 2001, which we didn't get a chance to get into, The Forbidden Planet, Tron. This is off of the top of my head. Close Encounters, Silent Running, The Andromeda Strain. I talked a few months ago about Robinson Crusoe on Mars, all of the Matrix films, The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original, the second, the remake with Keanu wasn't all that. All of the Alien films, Silent Running, of course, Independence Day, and all of these have a message that is there. Blade Runner, they all have a message, and I think Hollywood is definitely talking about that when. And it's intentional. And what I'm trying to say, when you get together at a Hollywood party or you're at a lunch with somebody that works in cinema or film, which is all over Burbank and Hollywood, that's what everybody does here, is these subjects are talked about. People do actually get into, was it intentional? Did you see that? Was it the director? Was it the studio? Was it a studio head? Is there somebody there doing this? When you have Illuminati presented in a music video or you have it in a film, one has to ask, because when I say that something is intentional, every frame of everything, every edit, every cut, everything is done for a reason. There are no accidents in any of these films. And so is there somebody who's maybe in the Illuminati that is running a studio or a producer that is there, and they sit around and go, hey, man, let's sneak this in the film. Let's get this in there. And then they go to the premiere, and they're sitting next to each other out in the audience, and that symbolism pops through, and that guy taps his buddy on the leg. There it is, man. There it is. Our alliance, our allegiance. We're showing it, that we're there. We're part of the brotherhood. Is that it? I don't know. Now, as crazy as that sounds, what I want everybody to understand is everything that is in every movie and television series and all those productions, everything is done with intent. It's done with intent. There isn't a mistake that is made. Kubrick is the best example of this. But we're just talking about Turtle Taub a little bit ago, National Treasure. Everything is done and framed. These guys are sitting in Hollywood on a set. They're looking at a widescreen monitor of what is being shot either on video or film, and they're looking at it. They're looking how it's framed, and they've got set dressers, and they've got costume people, and they've got hairdressers. Everything is done with intent. There are no mistakes. So why are they there? That is the question. What is the message? And why do it? If there is no Illuminati, if there is no Freemason influence, if there is no cabal or secret society or those secret handshakes and those secret deals going on, then why do it? Is it for fun? Is it subliminal? Is it there to let the masses know, subliminally going across the screen? If you see the Eye of Horus on a T-shirt, and you see it every day on the back of a dollar bill, and you're driving down the road, and then you see it on a sign on a business, it's all connecting subliminally to you. So what is why do it? And if there's nothing to it at all, and when I hear that part of it, that's the part that bugs me. It's nothing. That's not true. Everything is done with intent. And that's why you listen to this show. This is Fade to Black. I got to thank Robert Sullivan IV. Thank you for that excellent show. I don't know what happened there at the end, but you know. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, and Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet and TalkNetwork.com. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. It's your show. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2015 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.